I never believed a single text message could obliterate my life in seconds, but that's exactly what happened. I came home early from a simple work trip, expecting a peaceful evening with my wife and our baby girl. Instead, I found her phone buzzing crimson-hot confessions from the one man no husband should ever fear, her own father. Yes, my father-in-law's words were laced with a sick intimacy, each syllable stabbing deeper than any blade. I felt my world tilt off its axis as I stood there in our living room, staring at vile proof of betrayal. When I confronted her, she wore a mask of guilt, panic, and a twisted devotion I could hardly understand. It was like living a nightmare more depraved than any late-night thriller could ever script. Even as my heart shattered, I knew I had to shield our daughter, no matter the monsters lurking in our home. But how does one stand against a man who wields power like a loaded gun, especially when he shares your last name? I had to decide, fight with everything I had or watch my world drown in incestuous secrecy. This was how my war began. I remember the exact moment I realized something was off in my marriage. I'd been driving back from a routine work trip, just an overnight conference a few hours away, and arrived home a day earlier than planned. That decision was pure instinct. I wanted to surprise my wife Charlotte with dinner, maybe bring her flowers. Instead, I found our apartment eerily silent. Lamps turned off, curtains drawn, and a faint smell of scented candles that didn't belong to any I'd bought. My first odd discovery was a pair of men's shoes near the door, size much larger than mine. At first, I thought perhaps she'd had a visitor, maybe her father Wayne or a family friend. But something about that scenario didn't sit right. Wayne was definitely not the warm, fuzzy type who'd remove his shoes at my threshold. I walked deeper into the condo. It felt wrong, as though I was trespassing in my own place. Charlotte's phone was on the coffee table, buzzing intermittently with text notifications from WW. My pulse kicked up. WW were her father's initials, yes, but the tone in those texts, wish you were here. I can't stop thinking about Tuesday night. That wasn't normal father-daughter dialogue. I'd been a financial consultant for years, used to analyzing data and spotting anomalies. Right then, I sensed an anomaly in my own marriage. The more I read those messages, the more my chest tightened because the words "I miss your smell, your taste" jumped out at me. I nearly dropped her phone. I didn't want to keep reading, but forced myself to. If WW truly was Wayne, her father, then I was staring at something that turned my stomach. I'd always known Wayne was powerful. He owned real estate all over Manhattan. People called him a modern-day kingmaker. He had the mayor, the local press, even certain judges in his pocket. He was also controlling with Charlotte, calling her at midnight for business. But incest? That possibility was so disturbing my hands shook. I put the phone down, my mind spinning. The front door opened. Charlotte stepped in, her manicured fingers still on the doorknob when she saw me. She froze, eyes darting from me to the phone. That flicker of panic in her expression told me everything. "Martin?" she managed, placing a shopping bag on the floor. "You're early." "Thought I'd surprise you." My voice cracked, but I willed myself to stay calm. "I guess I did." She noticed the phone in my hand. "Why are you looking at my messages?" "Because your father sent some interesting ones." Her face paled. "You misunderstood. It's just family jokes." I had to swallow a surge of nausea. Family jokes do not include lines like "I need your body tonight." Right. My stare locked with hers. "Tell me I'm crazy. Say it's a misunderstanding." Charlotte's lips parted, but no sound emerged. I took a step closer. "Is that the reason for all the late nights? The phone calls at 1 in the morning? The hush-hush trips to his penthouse? Because you two are—" I couldn't even say the word. "Incest," she snapped. "You have no right to snoop. You're twisting everything." Her shrill outburst made me flinch. "Don't come at me with these disgusting accusations. Daddy and I have business secrets, that's all. He invests in commercial property." I flicked her phone screen back on, reading softly, "I can't wait to feel you again." I guess that's a new brand of property speculation. She slapped the device from my hand, fury flaring in her eyes. "Stop! You're prying into things you don't understand. My father and I, we share something deeper than you could ever imagine." Those words, the way she said them, was a knife to my gut. Charlotte, I whispered. This can't be real. It's sick. She turned her back to me, arms folded tight. You have no idea the power he holds, or the pressure on me. So do yourself a favor. Drop it. I couldn't tell if she was threatening me or pleading. My mind reeled with disbelief, heartbreak, and a twisted sense of betrayal. The woman I married, someone I loved deeply, was in a horrifying affair with her own father? It wasn't always like this. 2 years ago, we had a storybook wedding. She wore a graceful white gown. I had my single best friend, Nelson, as best man. Wayne financed the entire ceremony. Honestly, I barely knew Charlotte's side of the family, beyond her father's looming presence and her mother's absence. I once asked if her mom had passed away. Charlotte said something vague about a bitter divorce, refusing to elaborate. Wayne had overshadowed every aspect of her upbringing. She had seemed so happy to marry me, or so I believed. Maybe I was just an outsider she used for appearances. Over time, I noticed that whenever Wayne called, she'd perk up in ways she never did for me. But I dismissed it, telling myself I was insecure. Now the unthinkable was laid bare. The father-daughter dynamic was actually sexual. My stomach churned. I pictured them behind those closed penthouse doors, half-naked embraces. I nearly vomited. "Get out of my face!" Charlotte hissed. She tried to move past me. I blocked her gently. "No, you can't just vanish to his place. We need to talk." She shoved at my shoulder, surprising me with her strength. "I'm calling Daddy. He'll handle this intrusion." Intrusion? In my own marriage? My heart hammered in my chest. "Go ahead," I said, stepping aside. "Call him. Let him know I'm not clueless anymore." She grabbed her phone from the ground, rummaged for her keys, and marched to the door. "You'll regret poking around," she snarled, tears brimming in her eyes. "Daddy doesn't tolerate troublemakers." I sank onto our couch the moment she left, the door slamming behind her. My world felt like it was cracking open. The simplest action, breathing, felt strange. She's sleeping with her father. The idea was too grotesque to process. I needed help. My phone was on the coffee table. I scrolled to find my buddy Nelson's number. He was practically my brother, the only person in this city I trusted unconditionally. A longtime friend, he also worked occasionally as a private investigator. Nelson answered on the second ring, sounding cheerful. "Marty, thought you were at that conference for another day." "Nell," I whispered, my voice shaky. "I found something. I can't even say it." He grew serious immediately. "What happened?" I explained in a disjointed rush, coming home early, suspicious texts from Wayne, the possibility of an incestuous relationship between Charlotte and her father. Each word felt more insane than the last. "Jesus Christ," Nelson breathed. "That's messed up. Are you absolutely sure?" I told him about the explicit references, the hush-hush phone calls, the look of utter guilt on Charlotte's face. Silence from the other end of the line. "I need you to confirm it," I said. "If Wayne's truly having sex with his own daughter, I can't do this alone. He's too powerful, man. The entire city's under his thumb." Nelson exhaled. "All right. Let me set up some discreet surveillance. We'll get proof. If Charlotte is being manipulated or if she's complicit, we'll find out. But watch your back. Wayne's not just wealthy, he's vicious when threatened." "Yeah," I muttered, picturing Charlotte's parting threat. "You'll regret poking around." The next morning I woke in a cold sweat. Charlotte still hadn't returned. The bed felt cavernously empty. My phone showed no new messages from her. My stomach growled, but the thought of breakfast turned my gut sour. Instead, I paced the living room, half hoping Charlotte would come back with some rational explanation. But what rational explanation could exist for such texts? I peeked at the photo on the mantel, our wedding day. Charlotte's smile glowed, her father standing behind her. I stared at Wayne's face in that picture, noticing the subtle possessiveness of his hand on her shoulder. A wave of rage built inside me. Eventually, I forced myself to shower and dress. Work demanded my presence, even if my personal life was in shambles. My boss, Ethan, was a decent man, but also well-connected in business circles. I dreaded stepping into the office, worried Wayne might have already spread some rumor to sabotage me. Sure enough, halfway through the morning, Ethan called me into his glass-walled office. He offered me coffee, a grim look on his face. "Look, Martin, I don't know what's happening, but Wayne's lawyers contacted me. They implied you're crossing lines, something about defaming Wayne's family. My heart hammered. I haven't defamed anyone. This is a personal matter, Ethan. He frowned. Regardless, he's a major investor in several partner companies. We can't afford to alienate him. If there's any way to smooth this over, do it. I don't want trouble. I left feeling both anger and fear. Wayne was trying to corner me professionally. He wasted no time using his influence to isolate me. It proved how serious he was about protecting his secret. Nelson texted me around noon. We need to talk. I have info. I left work early, ignoring the curious glances from colleagues. We met at a tiny cafe on the outskirts of Midtown. Nelson slid into the booth opposite me. He looked unsettled, tapping his pen against the table. What is it? I asked quietly. He pulled out a small phone loaded with snapshots. I staked out Wayne's penthouse last night. Charlotte arrived at about 11:30 p.m. She didn't leave until 5 this morning. My stomach lurched. Maybe she just talked with him. That's a lot of hours, though. Nelson grimaced. Dude, I snapped a few pictures around 2 a.m. She stepped onto the balcony wearing basically a sheer nightgown, and he came up behind her. They kissed, on the mouth, intimately. I swallowed bile. You're sure it was Wayne? Not some boyfriend visiting him, or... Nelson shook his head. It was definitely Wayne. I recognized him. White hair, his distinctive profile. Look. He slid me the phone. I forced myself to look. The grainy zoomed image showed two figures in an embrace, the city lights behind them. My blood ran cold. This was proof, not illusions or paranoid jealousy hard evidence. I realized I was gripping the phone so hard my hand ached. Oh my God, I muttered. They're actually doing this. Nelson nodded, expression grim. I'm sorry, man. This is messed up. But at least we know you're not crazy. I exhaled shakily. Where do I go from here? If I confront Charlotte with these photos, she'll just lash out. Wayne might use his lawyers to bury me in defamation suits. Nelson pursed his lips. We gather more, irrefutable evidence. Then maybe we approach the authorities. Authorities Wayne probably owns, I said bitterly. He's got half the city in his pocket. That might lead nowhere. Nelson sipped his coffee. Then you strike on your own terms. You're the husband, legally entitled to certain spousal protections if you decide on divorce. But let's be strategic, not emotional. If Wayne's truly having incest with his daughter, that's illegal. But you'll need a judge or a detective who's not under Wayne's thumb. Hard to find, but not impossible. A cold clarity surfaced within me. I need to protect Emma. Nelson's brow furrowed. Emma? A tense pause filled the air. My voice wavered. Charlotte and we had a daughter a year ago. Now I wonder if I couldn't finish. He leaned forward. You think Wayne might be? I nodded, eyes burning. I have to confirm. She's so young, but maybe a DNA test will reveal if I'm even her father. That night I found Emma in her crib. Charlotte was still absent. My chest tightened at the sweet rise and fall of Emma's tiny chest as she slept. I adored this baby from the moment she was born. If she wasn't mine, if she was fathered by Wayne, the betrayal soared to unimaginable heights. I gently collected a swab sample from Emma's mouth while she slept, tears sliding down my cheeks. It felt insane, like I was starring in some dark psychological thriller. If the test came back confirming Wayne's paternity, I didn't know how I'd keep from doing something drastic. In the morning, I mailed the test kit to a private lab, paying extra for quick results. The days that followed were excruciating. Charlotte drifted in and out of the apartment, barely speaking to me except for threats. Don't you dare spread disgusting rumors. My father will end you. She looked edgy, corners of her eyes shadowed. Meanwhile, Wayne's lawyers kept quietly pressing my boss, sowing doubts about my character. Ethan summoned me again. Martin, these accusations, you sure you can't just apologize or something? Because I can't risk the firm's reputation. I realized I had no safe haven. This was the slow, methodical way Wayne crushed his opponents. Finally, the lab results arrived. I locked myself in the bedroom, heart pounding as I tore open the envelope. The conclusion line was bold and direct. Probability of paternity, Martin Ellis, 0%. Tears stung my eyes. Emma, the precious child I'd believed was mine, wasn't biologically related to me at all. In a trembling hush, I read further. Another section noted that certain paternal markers could be consistent with Wayne's profile. They didn't have Wayne's sample, so it wasn't official. But it strongly hinted that if any close male relative had fathered Emma, it was likely him. I collapsed onto the bed, fists clenched. My mind replayed the moment Emma first gripped my finger in the hospital, the nights I rocked her to sleep, the dozens of photos saved on my phone. I still loved her fiercely, biology be damned. But the horror of her actual father being her grandfather, that was a vile twist. I heard Charlotte's footsteps in the living room. Summoning every ounce of composure, I slipped the test results under a pillow. She called my name, voice brittle. I opened the door, face grim. "You have something to say?" Her gaze flicked to my tear-stained cheeks. "Daddy says you're overstepping. He told me to pass a message. If you keep prying, you'll be fired, blacklisted. You'll lose everything. So maybe just let it go." Anger roared in my chest. "You expect me to let it go? You and Wayne, you made a child together, Charlotte. God help me. Emma is the only innocent in this entire mess." "But how could you do this?" She scoffed, hugging her arms. "You have no clue what it's like to be me. He's in control. He always has been." A flicker of sadness tinted her eyes. For a moment I wondered if she was a victim of grooming from a young age, but the look vanished as she glared at me again. "Anyway, your feelings don't matter. Daddy takes what he wants." The rest of that night passed in suffocating silence. Emma fussed in her crib. I cradled her, rocking gently as I stared at Charlotte across the room. She made no move to join me, just stood by the window on her phone, possibly texting Wayne. I pressed my lips to Emma's forehead, vowing silently, "I will protect you from this twisted family. I don't care if you're not mine by blood. You're my daughter in every way that matters." I realized then that my path was set. I had to find a way to gather unstoppable evidence, not just for my own justice, but to keep Emma safe from whatever twisted dynamic might unfold. Wayne was unstoppable in the city, but somewhere there must be a judge or official who wouldn't bow to him. If that failed, I'd handle it myself. I put Emma to bed, texted Nelson, and prepared for war. 3 days later, I found myself sitting in a cramped corner booth at a diner on the Lower East Side. Nelson had arranged a meeting with someone he described as a bulldog in heels. Enter Brooke Marshall, a divorce attorney with a fearsome reputation. She strode in wearing a tailored suit and took the seat across from me, her eyes assessing. "Martin Ellis," she began, crossing her arms. "Nelson gave me the gist. Incest between your wife and her father, a child fathered by him, and a father-in-law with bottomless resources." I swallowed. "Yes, that's the monstrous situation." Her expression was unflinching. "I've handled some bizarre cases, but this is top tier. Why not go straight to the police?" I laughed without humor. "He probably owns half the local precinct. They wouldn't do squat, and if they tried, he'd crush them in court." Brooke nodded, as if that matched her own experience. "All right, so we need a strategy. Step 1. Gather undeniable proof. Photos, texts, maybe a recorded admission. Step 2. Find a judge outside Wayne's sphere of influence. Step 3. File for divorce, full custody of Emma, and protective orders. Meanwhile, we remain quiet until the right moment." My stomach churned at the notion of airing such vile laundry in court, but there was no other path. "I have some photos from Nelson's stakeout, plus the paternity test. Is that enough?" Brooke pulled out a notepad. "We'll want more. A short video if possible, or any explicit text messages referencing their relationship. If Wayne's attorneys see a loophole, they'll claim you fabricated it." That conversation with Brooke lit a fire inside me. She had a calm ferocity I appreciated. She understood that dealing with Wayne meant playing dirty, or at least playing with teeth bared. For the next week, I juggled my stressful job where my boss eyed me warily with the secret collection of evidence. Nelson took up a near-nightly stakeout routine, hoping to catch a clearer, more explicit glimpse of Wayne and Charlotte together. The thought disgusted me, but I needed that smoking gun. Emma was my refuge amid the chaos. Each evening, after Charlotte left to meet a friend, always Wayne, I suspected, I'd feed Emma, read her bedtime stories. She'd giggle at my silly voices, and a bittersweet ache filled my chest. How could Charlotte give birth to this sweet child, fathered by her own dad? It was monstrous and heartbreaking. But the deeper I sank into that heartbreak, the more determined I became. Wayne would face consequences. A sudden problem arose when Charlotte began suspecting my plans. One night, as I was rummaging in our closet for an old voice recorder, she caught me. "What are you doing?" she snapped, flicking on the overhead light. "Snooping for more evidence you think you can use?" I tried to act casual. "Just looking for a tape recorder. My phone mic's not reliable." Her nostrils flared. "Why do you need to record anything? Are you plotting to record me and Daddy?" I paused. "And if I were?" She marched forward, eyes flashing with anger. "Martin, if you try to expose him, you'll regret it. He'll bury you in lawsuits. You'll lose your job, your savings. Emma will be snatched away and raised in Daddy's penthouse. Is that what you want?" The mere thought of losing Emma made my chest tighten. "You think I'd let him take her?" She snorted, stepping back. "Martin, you're nothing compared to my father. He's unstoppable." My voice wavered with fury. A man who sleeps with his daughter is unstoppable? Maybe he's unstoppable because nobody's tried to stop him. I'm not giving up Emma. Period. Her expression cracked momentarily, something like pain or confusion. Then she slammed the closet door and walked out, a swirl of tension in her wake. Nelson called me the next morning, excitement in his voice. "Dude, you won't believe this. I got it on video." My heart leapt. "What exactly?" He cleared his throat, obviously uncomfortable. "Wayne and Charlotte on the penthouse balcony again last night. She was wearing a robe, open enough to see more than fatherly affection. I caught them in a definitely sexual embrace for about 10 seconds before they went inside." A wave of nausea rolled through me, but I forced myself to ask, "Is it clear enough that no one could claim it's doctored?" "Clear enough to see Wayne's face and Charlotte's face, plus the posture. It's incriminating. I'll send you a secure link. Don't keep it on your phone, just watch once." I exhaled, a trembling hush. "Thanks, man. This is the proof." "It is," he said, voice grim. "I'm sorry you have to see it, but it'll help in court." After we hung up, I slumped onto the couch, feeling the adrenaline spike crash into utter disgust. I dreaded the moment I'd have to watch that video, but I knew I had to confirm it for myself. Before viewing it, I braced my mind. "Don't freak out, Martin. This is the ammo to free Emma from that twisted environment." The clip was only about 15 seconds. It showed a grainy shot of Wayne stepping out onto the balcony, hooking an arm around Charlotte's waist and kissing her mouth. Then, his hand slid under her robe. In a flash, she tugged him inside, out of view. I almost threw my phone across the room. My entire body felt clammy, heart pounding like a drum. This was beyond any normal infidelity. My wife, her father, the father of my child, this depravity. Moments later, the phone rang. Brooke calling. I tried to steady my breathing. "Did Nelson fill you in?" she asked, no small talk. "Yes, he just sent me the link." "That's huge. Visual evidence of incest from an outside vantage point. A judge won't easily dismiss this." My lips parted, voice still shaky. "What's next?" "Next, we set up a bombshell divorce filing. We ask the court for immediate protective orders, citing incest and moral unfitness. We aim to get custody of Emma." She paused. "But we need to plan carefully, Martin. Wayne could bribe the assigned judge. We might request a venue outside the city, or at least a known fair judge." I rubbed my temples. "Wayne will retaliate. Undoubtedly. He'll come at you with every legal angle, but we'll be ready." That evening, I quietly copied every text from Charlotte's phone whenever she left it unlocked on the kitchen counter. I found some truly explicit ones between her and Wayne, exchanges referencing nights in hotel rooms, even one mention that Emma is ours. That line sparked fresh rage. The subtext was clear. They made Emma together. I compiled these texts into a private folder, added the video from Nelson, plus the paternity test. Then I stashed duplicates on a secure cloud that only Brooke, Nelson, and I could access. Wayne's sabotage might destroy one copy, but not all. Charlotte's hostility grew with each passing day. She snapped at me over trivial matters, threatened me with disclaimers like, "Daddy's lawyers are unstoppable," and started returning home at irregular hours. She seemed more anxious, though, her eyes darting with guilt or fear. Maybe she sensed the walls closing in. At night I lay awake, mentally replaying the vile images I'd seen. The heartbreak was overshadowed by protective anger for Emma. If Wayne had fathered her, what twisted paternal claim might he attempt if everything came to light? That thought propelled me forward. 2 weeks later, in a quiet office outside the city, Brooke officially filed a petition for divorce on my behalf. The grounds were extreme adultery, incest, and irreconcilable moral conflict. She also filed for full custody of Emma, citing Charlotte's unfitness. We did it in a county court far enough from Wayne's usual realm. The clerk looked visibly startled reading the incest claim, but they processed it. The next day, Charlotte was served the papers at our apartment building. I was at work, but building security told me she erupted in a screaming fit, tearing the envelope open. She tried calling me repeatedly, but I refused to answer. When I arrived home that evening, the living room was in disarray, photo frames shattered on the floor. Charlotte stood in the middle of it all, trembling with anger. "You bastard!" she spat, brandishing the divorce documents. "You actually did it! You exposed our private life in writing!" I forced a calm facade. "I had no choice." She flung a picture frame at the wall, glass shattering. "Daddy's not going to let you humiliate him like this. You want Emma? He'll never let you keep her." My stomach twisted, but I held her gaze. "He won't have a say if I show the court everything. The incest, the paternity test, he'll be facing criminal charges." Her expression flickered with genuine fear. For a moment, I wondered if she was also a victim of his grooming, but her voice turned venomous again. "You've ignited a war." I spread my hands. "So be it." Sure enough, Wayne's retaliation was swift. The next morning, the gossip columns online started running smears about me. Claims I'd embezzled money from clients, false, or had a gambling problem, also false. My boss, Ethan, confronted me, worried about the firm's image. Simultaneously, Wayne's high-powered lawyers filed a countersuit claiming I had defamed Wayne with outrageous incest claims. They wanted a gag order to keep me from spreading vile rumors. Media outlets, which typically revered Wayne as a mogul, gave him sympathetic coverage. A handful, though, smelled scandal. They teased headlines about a shocking father-daughter rumor. The city buzzed with partial truths. Brooke assured me we had the advantage if the judge allowed our evidence. But that was the crux. Wayne had the money to corrupt or intimidate some judges. We had to pray we'd land a fair-minded one. Late that night, Nelson texted me, "Watch your back. People in suits poking around your building." My hands shook. Wayne was unleashing his intimidation tactics. I double-checked the locks, peered through the windows for suspicious vehicles. My imagination conjured men waiting outside with baseball bats or guns. Despite the chaos, I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for Emma. She was too little to understand, but I wanted her to feel safe. Each morning, I'd feed her mashed fruit, coo nonsense, and watch her bright eyes as she giggled. That innocence kept me sane. One evening, I was bathing Emma when Charlotte suddenly stepped in, face streaked with tears. Her voice was shaky. "Let me hold her." I carefully passed Emma to her mother. Charlotte gently rinsed Emma's hair, gaze distant. "I never wanted this to blow up," she murmured. "Daddy told me well. He said we'd keep Emma with us, that you'd be cast aside. I guess you forced our hand." I kept quiet, letting her speak. She looked at me with haunted eyes. "Do you think I'm a monster?" My lips parted. "I think you're an adult who chose a path with unimaginable consequences." She shut her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I can't break from him." A pang of pity surfaced, but I reminded myself of Emma's safety. "It's not too late to do the right thing. If you help me protect Emma from him, maybe you can salvage your life." Her face twisted in turmoil. Then she softly kissed Emma's forehead and left the bathroom without another word. That fleeting display of remorse didn't stop her from rushing into Wayne's arms. Within days, I heard from Brooke that Charlotte had hired Wayne's top corporate law firm as her defense. They filed to dismiss my divorce petition, claiming fabricated evidence. They tried to muzzle me with a cease and desist. Brooke responded with the video, the paternity test, and text logs. "Fight us in open court," she told them. "We have a mountain of proof." The hearing date was set for next month. A judge whom we knew little about would review initial motions. If that judge didn't fold under Wayne's influence, we had a real shot. Wayne, it seemed, was preparing a final push. Tension crackled in the air. I felt it every time I left the building, expecting black SUVs to trail me. Manny, a friend of Nelson's with security experience, started accompanying me discreetly. And so the battle lines were fully drawn. Incest revelations, a secret child fathered by a father, unstoppable power clashing against our determined will. In my calmer moments, I reminded myself this wasn't just about revenge, it was about saving Emma from a vile legacy. I braced for the storm that was about to descend on us. A hot August morning found me sitting in the office of a man named Quentin Parson, a rumored clean judge in an outlying county. Brooke had arranged a private consultation, which wasn't typical, but the judge had a friend of a friend who believed in justice free from corruption. He agreed to meet unofficially, just to gauge the seriousness of my claims. As I told my story from start to finish, his eyes narrowed with each disturbing detail. I showed him some printed screenshots, carefully not revealing the original digital sources. Enough to prove I wasn't insane. He exhaled. "Mr. Ellis, if even half of this is legitimate, it's among the worst cases I've heard. We're talking incest, potential corruption, intimidation." I nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking you well, not you personally, but if you could direct me to a venue or a colleague who isn't compromised by Wayne. He tapped his pen. "Filing in my county might be an option, but there's a process. You'd have to request a transfer of venue from your original filing. Wayne's lawyers will fight it tooth and nail." Brooke, seated beside me, gently interjected, "We can show cause that a fair trial in the city is impossible due to Wayne's influence. We're collecting affidavits from various people who've faced his intimidation." Judge Parson frowned. "Send them my way once it's official. I can't promise anything, but I won't be bought. If you get assigned to my bench, I'll treat this with the gravity it deserves." Relief warred with caution inside me. This might be the first real step towards an unbiased hearing. But Wayne wouldn't let it happen without a fight. True to form, Wayne's response was swift. The very next day, my boss received a letter from Wayne's attorneys, referencing serious misconduct on my part and advising the firm to dismiss me or face potential litigation. Ethan, though sympathetic, caved to pressure. He called me into his office, closing the door gently. "Martin, I'm sorry. This is beyond me. The board decided to terminate your position. They can't risk association with these incest allegations." My fists clenched. "They're punishing the victim. You realize that?" Ethan's eyes flickered with regret. "I know. But Wayne is a giant in this industry. Our company can't lose his goodwill. I truly am sorry." I left the building with a small severance check, my career in tatters. Wayne had accomplished one of his goals, removing my financial stability. But ironically, it only fueled my resolve. When I told Brooke, she shook her head. "He's systematically isolating you. We can use this as further evidence of retaliation, but that's a separate lawsuit. Focus on Emma's custody first." Nelson offered moral support, bringing me coffee as we strategized in my living room. I told him quietly, "This is exactly why men have turned vigilante in lesser situations." He patted my shoulder. "Don't go vigilante. You have the law on your side if we do this right." Charlotte's behavior turned bizarre after my firing. It was as though she pitied me. She'd fix me dinner, then vanish for hours. She'd leave me strangely apologetic notes. "I'm sorry it had to be this way." Yet in the next breath, she'd unleash vicious remarks about how I was lucky Wayne didn't bury me deeper. One evening, she cornered me as I was preparing a bottle for Emma. "Daddy says if you drop the divorce petition, he'll let you keep partial visitation. He's feeling generous." I glared at her. "Generous? He fathered my wife's child. You think I'll just walk away meekly?" Her chin trembled. "You'll never beat him, and if you lose in court, Emma remains with me and Daddy. He'll raise her as he sees fit. She's his daughter biologically." My anger rose in my throat, but I forced myself calm for Emma's sake. "Get out of my way, Charlotte." She stepped aside, tears brimming. "Please, Martin, don't do something that puts Emma in danger. Daddy's unstoppable." I carried Emma to the nursery, my chest tight. Charlotte's words hammered in my mind. He's unstoppable. The more I heard it, the more I wanted to prove them wrong. Around that time, Manny, my informal bodyguard, informed me that unknown men had tailed him after leaving my apartment. They didn't confront me, just watched. This is intimidation. No question, Manny said. The next day, the tires on Manny's SUV were slashed. He caught a masked man fleeing the scene, but the figure escaped on foot. Wayne's tactic was clear: sow fear among those helping me. I called Manny to ensure he was safe. He laughed grimly. "It'll take more than that to scare me off, but keep your phone on. If they try something more extreme, we might need the police." I realized I had to accelerate the legal route. Fear for Manny, fear for Emma, fear for my own life kept me awake at night. Brooke explained that a hearing was scheduled to decide whether our divorce case would remain in the city or move to a neutral county. We pinned our hopes on the latter. Wayne's attorneys, in the meantime, plastered every counterclaim possible: that I was psychologically unstable, that I was fixated on bizarre incest fantasies, that Charlotte's father was a kind, supportive parent. The gall of it all made me want to punch something. On the morning of that crucial venue hearing, I dressed in a charcoal suit, gritted my teeth, and headed to the courthouse. Manny accompanied me, scanning for suspicious activity. Inside the courtroom, Wayne was present for the first time since these proceedings began. He wore an elegant suit, white hair combed back, radiating an aura of confidence. Charlotte sat beside him, face stoic. My stomach churned. The judge assigned for this venue hearing was rumored to be fair, but as the proceeding began, I caught a certain tension in her posture. Wayne's attorneys unleashed arguments that Mr. Ellis fabricated unthinkable allegations out of jealousy, and that it is wholly unnecessary to uproot these proceedings from the standard location. Brooke countered with a calm, methodical approach. She presented the evidence of my job termination under suspicious circumstances, Manny's intimidation. She insisted Wayne's local ties made a fair trial impossible. At one point, Wayne's gaze locked with mine. His lips curved into a chilling half-smile, as though daring me to continue. Charlotte refused to meet my eyes at all. Midway through the hearing, Brooke dropped a bombshell in the form of an affidavit from a local journalist who claimed to have been threatened by Wayne's men if she reported the incest rumor. This affidavit was new and powerful. The judge's eyes widened as she read it. Wayne's lead attorney rose, sputtering about baseless, unverified statements, but the judge calmly asked for the journalist's credentials. She seemed unsettled by the emerging pattern of intimidation. Finally, the judge said, "Given the serious nature of the allegations and the distinct possibility of undue influence in this jurisdiction, I am inclined to grant the motion to transfer venue. We will reconvene in Candlebridge County next month." A hush fell over the courtroom. Wayne's attorney tried to protest, but the judge gave him a stern look. "I will not see a potentially grave injustice overshadowed by local advantage. That is my ruling." I almost sagged in relief. A small victory. Wayne, however, tightened his jaw, glancing at Charlotte with simmering anger. As we stepped out into the corridor, Wayne intercepted me, leaning in so only I could hear. "You've gotten in over your head. Candlebridge or not, you won't take Emma from me." My pulse pounded. I refused to flinch. "We'll see." The next day, Wayne escalated further. My bank accounts were mysteriously frozen for suspicious activity. The bank manager claimed it was a routine hold, but I recognized Wayne's fingerprints. I scrambled to fix it, spending hours on calls. Meanwhile, Manny reported that someone tried to break into my building's storage locker, presumably seeking any hidden evidence. Nelson had everything backed up, so they found nothing. Amid the swirl of threats and sabotage, my single comfort was Emma's presence, though Charlotte had grown more possessive of her. She insisted on taking Emma to Wayne's penthouse some nights, ignoring my pleas not to. Legally, she still had partial rights until the custody hearing. One evening, I mustered the nerve to block her at the door as she tried to carry Emma out. "You're not taking her to that man," I said quietly. She bristled. "He's her father. Move." Emma whimpered, unsettled by the tension. My head spun with fury, but I forced composure. "I'll call the police if you go. The allegations are in the system. If they find you bringing Emma to her incestuous father, it might hamper your case." Charlotte's face twisted. She eventually cursed under her breath and stomped back into the apartment, furious. But at least Emma remained. In the lull of night, as Emma slept, I scrolled through old photos of Charlotte and me in happier times, searching for hints I might have missed. The slightest clue that she'd been entangled with Wayne all along. Perhaps I was naive from the start. A memory returned. Right after we got engaged, she'd insisted Wayne handle the wedding arrangements. He was so controlling, picking the venue, the menu, everything. I recalled fleeting moments when his hand lingered on her lower back or the glances they exchanged. I used to dismiss them as normal father-daughter closeness. Now, each recollection felt sinister. It stoked my determination. This hearing in Candlebridge County was my best chance. Brooke was forging a custody claim that left no room for doubt. Incest, paternity fraud, moral unfitness. She believed we could secure an emergency ruling awarding me sole custody if the judge found Charlotte's environment dangerous. But part of me worried about the heavy burden of proof. I dreaded the possibility that Wayne's lawyers might undermine the video or the DNA test as tampered. Nelson was gathering more witnesses who'd seen Charlotte come and go from Wayne's penthouse at unholy hours. Manny had compiled a log of suspicious cars trailing me. All of it formed a web of intimidation that might sway a judge to see the bigger picture. A small breakthrough arrived via an unexpected source, Charlotte's old nanny from her childhood. She reached out to Brooke, saying she suspected something was off decades ago, that Wayne was too affectionate, but she'd been dismissed abruptly. She was willing to testify that Wayne had an unhealthy fixation on Charlotte since she was a teen. When Brooke told me the nanny's story, I felt nauseous. "He's been grooming her for years, presumably," I whispered. Brooke nodded. "It explains a lot. If we show the court that Charlotte might have been coerced from a young age, it might complicate the moral blame on her, but it definitely cements Wayne as a predator." I sank into a chair, head in my hands. Part of me pities Charlotte then, but I can't excuse her continued involvement. Brooke placed a hand on my shoulder. "Focus on Emma. That's our priority. If the nanny's testimony reveals Wayne's pattern, the judge might see how dangerous he is." So we arranged for the nanny to sign an affidavit, another piece in the puzzle, hopefully unstoppable. As the Candlebridge hearing date approached, tensions soared to a breaking point. Charlotte kept to herself, glaring at me whenever we crossed paths. Wayne, though absent physically, loomed in every threat, every sabotage attempt. My finances were partially restored after I jumped through bureaucratic hoops, but the damage was done. I was unemployed, living on savings. Emma's presence gave me purpose. Each night I'd sing lullabies, reminding myself that the fight was for her future. No matter how vile the father or how manipulative Charlotte had become, Emma deserved a safe, normal upbringing. On the eve of our departure for Candlebridge, Manny helped me load boxes of evidence into the trunk of a rented car. Nelson would drive separately, carrying additional backups. We planned to stay in a small motel near the courthouse for the duration of the hearing. Charlotte insisted on traveling with Wayne's entourage. She refused any civil arrangement. I stood in the dimly lit parking garage, heart pounding as the reality settled. This is it. A wave of anxiety threatened to cripple me, but Manny's firm hand on my shoulder steadied me. "Stay strong, Martin. This hearing might change everything." I nodded, inhaling a sharp breath. "I'm ready." In truth, I was terrified, but I had no choice. The stage was set for the most critical showdown of my life. I paced the length of my borrowed motel room, cheap carpet rough beneath my feet, phone clenched in my right hand. On the small TV, a local news anchor drones about stock fluctuations, barely audible. My mind is busy sorting through the phone call I got from Brooke an hour ago. Our official divorce and custody hearing is set to begin in 3 weeks. In the meantime, Wayne is bombarding the system with counterfilings. He claims I'm delusional, a liar, that I fabricated vile accusations to ruin Charlotte's reputation and cheat her out of child support. The nerve. One part of me wants to fling the phone across the room, but I won't stoop to raging in a motel. That's exactly the image Wayne wants. An unhinged, volatile husband. No, my game is patience and composure. Manny knocks softly, stepping inside with a half-eaten slice of pizza in his hand. "Any updates?" he asks, chewing. I exhale. "Yeah, Wayne's attorneys demanded an emergency injunction to suppress any mention of incest. They're calling it defamation of a revered businessman. I set the phone aside. Brooks fighting it. He offers me the rest of his slice. I shake my head. No appetite right now. What's your next move? Manny presses. I allow a moment to gather my thoughts. Nelson's still digging for more dirt on Wayne's finances. If we can show money laundering or bribery, we strengthen the incest claim by painting him as capable of anything. I lower my voice. We also have an ally in that senator. He might push for a federal investigation. Manny nods, finishes his pizza, and tosses the crust into the trash. Keep me posted on security. I can run a personal check around this motel if needed. The idea that I need a personal guard at a random roadside motel highlights how bizarre my life's become. A few months ago, I was a normal financial consultant, happily so I thought married to Charlotte. Now I'm plotting survival strategies against her father, a man who fathered her child. My child, Emma, is stuck in the crosshairs of a twisted power struggle. The only glimmer of hope is that I'm not alone. Brooke, Manny, Nelson, and even Irene, they're my small circle, my only advantage in the face of Wayne's empire. My phone buzzes again, making me flinch. This time it's Charlotte. I hesitate, then answer. What do you want? My tone is sharper than I intend, but she doesn't deserve courtesy right now. You can't keep ignoring me, she says quietly. I can try, I say, jaw tight. You still at your father's penthouse? Or is it some new hideout? A shaky sigh sounds over the line. Daddy's attorney said if you continue slandering him, we'll destroy you in court. I'm giving you one last chance to withdraw your allegations. I sink onto the motel bed, the mattress springs complaining. Withdraw truth? I'm not lying about anything. He's your lover. He's also the father of Emma, and you both know it. Charlotte's voice quivers with anger or maybe fear. If the judge sees Wayne's involvement as incest, do you realize Emma's future is at stake? You want her labeled a product of father-daughter relations? She exhales sharply. Think about the shame you'll bring to her life. My heart clenches. Emma is innocent, but I swallow that heartbreak, staying focused on the big picture. Better for Emma to learn the truth than to be raised in a monstrous lie. She'll be safe from him. You self-righteous, she begins, then cuts herself off. There's a pause. Come home. Talk to me face to face. Let's solve this privately. I recall the times I confronted her, how she dodged or deflected. Meeting alone now seems like a trap. I grit my teeth. No, I'm done letting you or Wayne corner me unprepared. She tries a different tack, her tone oddly gentle. Martin, I know you're angry, but we can find a compromise. Emma can have both of us. Both of us? You mean you and Wayne, with me shoved aside? I release a bitter laugh. No, Charlotte. My daughter stays with me. End of story. I hang up before she can respond. Pushing to my feet, I pace again. My gut churns with guilt and fury. Yes, Emma is her child too. But how can I trust Charlotte after the ultimate betrayal? She's not safe, not morally fit to be a mother. That's the line my attorney and I are pushing. It's a savage tactic, but I refuse to let them warp Emma's upbringing. The next morning, Manny drives me across town to a small law office where Brooke has arranged a private meeting. She insisted we keep this meeting off the books, away from Wayne's prying eyes. We arrive at a nondescript building with tinted windows, the kind that could house insurance adjusters or tax accountants. Inside, we find a conference room occupied by Brooke and a stoic older man in a gray suit who introduces himself as Terrence Groves, a retired judge. Brooke gestures me to sit. Martin, Mr. Groves is an old colleague of my mentor. He's agreed to review the partial evidence we have and advise on strategy. I shake Groves's hand. It's calloused, and his gaze is sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. Good to meet you, Mr. Ellis, he says quietly. I've heard you're up against Wayne. I don't envy you. I settle into a chair, Manny standing watch by the door. You believe me? About the incest and everything? Groves purses his lips. I've sat on enough benches to know anything's possible with men who think they're above the law. If you say you have evidence, that's half the battle. Brooke flips open a folder, revealing a series of typed statements. From me, from Nelson, from Manny. She also has screenshots of texts, carefully redacted to preserve privacy except for key lines. Wayne's attorneys are pushing a narrative that Martin's unhinged, trying to exploit Charlotte's father for money. Groves reads a page, frowning. But you have the paternity test, correct? I nod. Emma is biologically Wayne's. Charlotte admitted nothing directly, but the test is conclusive. We also have video footage grainy, but clear enough of them being intimate in the penthouse. Groves exhales. The moral revulsion alone might sway some judges, but Wayne's team can claim tampering. They'll question chain of custody for the DNA sample. They'll claim the video is doctored. I assume that's all in your attorney's plan? Brooke folds her arms. Yes. We have verified references from the lab, plus third-party eyewitness accounts. She lifts an eyebrow at me. But we need to establish Wayne's track record of manipulation. Groves glances at Manny. You said you've been threatened? Car vandalism too? Manny nods. We have photos, plus I wrote down license plates of suspicious vehicles. Groves sets the papers down. Wayne's strategy is intimidation. He'll also buy off or threaten officials. You must prepare for a prolonged fight. But if you can hold steady and ensure the court sees this, you might have a shot at full custody of the child, especially if the judge deems incest proven. My heart pounds. Thank you, Judge. I'm ready. He stands to leave, sliding the folder back to Brooke. Good luck, Mr. Ellis. This Wayne fellow unstoppable in his own mind. But no man is truly unstoppable. He departs, leaving me with a surge of hope. Even an old judge can see a path forward if we keep calm. Later that afternoon, I get a message from Nelson. I dug deeper into Wayne's old identity, Walter Crane, found a sealed court record from 2 decades ago. That piques my curiosity. If Wayne was involved in a scandal that got sealed, maybe it's a pattern of sexual misconduct. We arrange to meet in a coffee shop off the beaten path. Manny tags along, scanning the sidewalk for tails. Inside, the air smells of espresso and pastries. Nelson sits at a corner table, laptop open. He waves me over, eyes glinting with excitement. You found something big? I ask, sliding into the seat. Nelson turns the laptop to show me a partial scan of an old court docket. Walter Crane was accused of raping a teenage girl. She vanished partway through the investigation. Charges dropped due to lack of victim testimony. Then the entire file got sealed. That's right around the time he rebranded himself as Wayne Wayne. My stomach twists. Dear God, so he's done something like this before. Possibly manipulative or violent sexual acts, but the victim disappeared? Nelson nods grimly. I suspect hush money or intimidation. This is Wayne's M.O. After that incident, he changed his name, built an empire. If we can link that old case to him, it might bolster the incest claim. Shows a pattern of predatory behavior. I tap the table, adrenaline spiking. We need to get that unsealed or at least confirm the details. If we show a family court judge that Wayne's no stranger to sexual exploitation, it could tip custody in my favor. They'll see Charlotte's also a victim. Nelson sits back. But be cautious. Wayne's lawyers might fight to keep that sealed, and I can't guarantee the victim's identity or whereabouts. I swallow, glancing at Manny. Even a partial mention in court could open the judge's eyes. Manny simply nods. This new angle feels like dynamite. Wayne's father-daughter incest might not be the first time he's preyed on someone young. My mind goes to Charlotte again. Maybe she truly was groomed. A flicker of sympathy surfaces for her, but it doesn't erase her current complicity or betrayal. My bigger concern is Emma's welfare. 2 days later, Manny and I drive out to a humble little daycare center on the outskirts of the city. I'd found it through a recommendation from Irene, who used to volunteer there. I'm here to see if they can keep Emma a few mornings a week so I can focus on the legal madness. The place is small but cheerful, with bright murals of animals on the walls. As we step inside, Emma in my arms, a friendly administrator greets us. Welcome to Sunny Trails Daycare. How can I help? I glance at Manny, then back to her. I'm looking for short-term childcare. My daughter's situation is complicated. I need a safe, stable place. She smiles at Emma, who babbles happily. We can certainly see if we have space. Let me check. She disappears into a small office. Manny leans close. Think Wayne might try to abduct her here? His whisper underscores how crazy life is. I sigh. That's why I have you. But I want Emma to have some normalcy at least. My chest aches at the thought that I can't even trust a daycare without a guard. Yet Wayne's kidnapping threats are real. The administrator returns, handing me forms. We have an opening. The ratio is small. We focus on a nurturing environment. I force a polite smile as I fill out the forms, skipping any mention of mother or father beyond me. Manny quietly checks the perimeter. This is the price of dealing with a monstrous father-in-law. Still, Emma deserves playtime with other kids. Once done, I hand back the papers. I appreciate it. We'll start next Monday morning. Leaving the daycare, I strap Emma into her car seat, Manny scanning the street. Clear, he mutters. We drive off, my mind churning. Part of me hates that I can't just be a normal dad dropping his kid off at daycare. Instead, I'm a father in the midst of a twisted scandal, armed with bodyguards. That evening, I receive an unexpected call from Charlotte's old nanny, Melissa. She found my contact info through a mutual acquaintance. Mr. Ellis, her voice trembles. I heard about your case. I worked for the Wayne family when Charlotte was a teenager. I always suspected something was off between father and daughter. Wayne was too controlling. I saw him slip into her room late at night once. My pulse skyrockets. Melissa, that's crucial. Would you be willing to provide a statement? Possibly even testify that Wayne had an inappropriate dynamic with Charlotte back then? She hesitates. I'm scared. Wayne threatened me when I tried to speak up. That's why I left. But I don't want Charlotte to keep suffering. And if there's a baby involved, my chest tightens with relief. There is. Emma. Wayne fathered her, we believe. Your testimony could be pivotal in removing him from Emma's life. We can protect your identity as much as possible. She sighs. All right, I'll talk to your lawyer. But if Wayne finds out, I don't know what he'll do. I promise we'll shield her, give her a chance to sign an affidavit in secret. After we hang up, I rub my temple. Another piece of evidence, if we can keep her safe. The more people come forward, the less Wayne can bury the truth. The entire puzzle might be falling into place. Meanwhile, Irene calls with an invitation. I know this is a stressful time, but I'm hosting a small dinner at my cabin. My brother's visiting and Manny's coming too. You should bring Emma. It'll be a break from the tension. I hesitate. Part of me feels guilty relaxing while the storm rages. But Emma deserves a breather, and so do I. Sure, I say. We'll come by around 7. That night, Manny drives us up the winding roads. The air is crisp, pine-scented. Irene's cabin glows with warm light. As I carry Emma to the porch, Irene appears, smiling. You made it! Inside, her brother, a friendly, bearded man named Caleb, offers me a handshake. Manny heads to the kitchen to check windows, ever vigilant. The rest of us gather around a wooden table with steaming plates of homemade stew. Emma squeals when Irene tickles her belly. The cabin's cozy ambience soothes my frayed nerves. It almost feels normal. For a moment, I forget about Wayne, about lawsuits, about betrayal. We chat about silly things. Local fairs, fishing spots, Manny's upcoming attempt at building a personal gym. Emma plays with a plush bear that Irene gave her, but the normalcy is fleeting. My phone vibrates with a text from Nelson. Wayne's lawyers filed a motion to expedite trial. They want everything done in 2 weeks. My shoulders tense. This dinner is my calm before another wave of chaos. I tuck the phone away, forcing a neutral expression so I don't spoil the evening. After Emma dozes off in a makeshift crib Irene set up, I find myself stepping outside onto the deck for fresh air. Irene follows, arms folded against the slight chill. She eyes me quietly. I sense your mind is half here, half in that legal battle. I sigh, leaning on the wooden railing. It's impossible to switch off. Wayne just advanced the timeline. My entire life, day by day, it's a fight. She places a gentle hand on my shoulder. You're not alone, Martin. An ache stirs in my chest. Her kindness is dangerously comforting. I appreciate that, I whisper. For once, I let myself be vulnerable, letting the tension drain under the star-filled sky. Over the next week, everything intensifies. Wayne's attorneys bombard Brooke with demands, citing irreparable harm to Wayne's reputation. They attempt to subpoena me for depositions nearly every other day. Brooke scrambles to keep up. Manny keeps seeing suspicious cars around my motel. I move to a different motel, only for the same phenomenon to repeat. Brooke calls me late one night. We might have a crack in Wayne's armor, the sealed case from years ago. Nelson found an attorney who's willing to try unsealing it. If we succeed, it's devastating for Wayne. My heart lifts. Yes, the more proof of his predatory behavior, the better. We can show the judge Charlotte was groomed, that incest is a real extension of his sickness. Brooke cautions me. He'll fight like hell, expect bribes and threats, but the judge we're assigned might consider in-camera review private viewing of the sealed records. That alone could tip the balance if they see similar sexual allegations. We talk for another half hour about strategy. By the end, I'm mentally exhausted but slightly hopeful. If that sealed record reveals even a fraction of Wayne's past horrors, the final custody ruling might heavily favor me and Emma's safety. It also might land Wayne in criminal court. A twist occurs when Charlotte's mother, Diana Wayne, emerges from the shadows. I'd never met her. Charlotte always claimed her mother left long ago, but apparently she heard rumors of the incest scandal and reached out to me through Brooke's office. Brooke arranges a phone call. "Hello, Martin?" Diana's voice is hollow, almost shaky. I'm Charlotte's mother. I've been in Europe for years. Wayne forced me away, threatened me if I ever attempted contact. But I heard something about him fathering Charlotte's child. That can't be true, or is it? My hand grips the phone. It is. We have evidence, including a paternity test. Charlotte denies it publicly but won't speak truth in court. Wayne is forging ahead with intimidation. I'm fighting for custody of Emma. Diana breaks into muffled sobs. My God, I suspected he was twisted. He was always controlling, borderline abusive, but this incest I never imagined. She sniffs. Can I help you? My testimony about Wayne's cruelty? I rub my forehead. Another potential witness to Wayne's dark side. Yes, if you're willing. It might be risky. Wayne won't want you speaking up. She takes a shaky breath. I spent decades in fear, but Charlotte is my daughter. If she's truly entangled in this, I have to do something, even if Charlotte hates me. We arrange for her to fly back quietly and meet with Brooke, another piece on the board. Wayne's outrages are catching up to him from all corners. Nannies, ex-judges, old cases, and now an estranged wife. A part of me wonders if Charlotte's mother's reappearance might rattle Charlotte enough to see sense. Possibly too late for that. With so many new angles, time rushes toward the next hearing date. Manny corners me one morning as I'm finishing up breakfast at the motel. Martin, he says firmly, we should relocate you and Emma. Wayne's men keep sniffing around. They found your motel again. Let's head up to Irene's place full-time. I glance at my phone, a missed call from an unknown number. A text from the daycare about Emma's next session. My mind is swirling. Manny's right. This motel living is insecure. Yeah, I finally say. We'll do it. I'll let Irene know we're moving in short term. Emma's better off in the countryside. I can drive her to daycare from there. By early afternoon, we pack up my meager belongings. Manny standing guard while I load Emma's gear. I can't ignore the car that creeps by, tinted windows rolled up. Manny steps forward, hand drifting near his concealed weapon. The car speeds off. One last reminder that Wayne or his minions are never far behind. On the drive to Irene's cabin, Emma dozes in her car seat, unaware of the tension. I force myself to stay calm. We pass pine forests, winding hills, open skies. The fresh air soothes me. On arrival, Irene greets us warmly, helps carry Emma's things. Manny parks out back to keep watch. I exhale a breath of relief in the cabin's living room, Emma crawling on a rug near the fireplace. Irene sets a small vase of wildflowers on a side table, beaming at us. This is your home for as long as you need, she says. I kneel to scoop Emma into my arms, hugging her gently. Wayne can threaten, Charlotte can waver, but my daughter is safe in my arms. For now, that's enough. And in a matter of days, I'll be back in court, the final push for custody looming. The tension is suffocating, but I stand straighter, refusing to bend. This is my story to end. Early dawn at Irene's cabin. I'm sitting on the porch, sipping black coffee as a faint mist drifts over the lake. Inside, Emma snoozes in a portable crib. Irene's voice hums softly from the kitchen, preparing breakfast. Manny is out back, scanning the perimeter. This lull feels surreal, as if the chaos of Wayne's legal barrage is far away. But I know it's only a temporary peace. My phone buzzes, jolting me. It's Brooke. I answer quietly, not wanting to wake Emma. Morning, I say. She cuts straight to business. We have a date for the next hearing. Next Tuesday. The judge wants initial arguments on custody before we go to full trial. Wayne's attorneys demanded it. You can't skip this. Will you be ready to come back to the city for it? Tension coils in my gut. Yes. Manny and I will drive down, bring Emma if necessary. Are they fast-tracking the custody decision? Possibly. The judge might issue a temporary ruling or delay again, hard to predict. She exhales into the phone. But the big news, we got a partial unsealing of Wayne's old legal record from when he was Walter Crane. I straighten. Seriously? The one with the vanished victim? Exactly. The record references sexual assault allegations, plus rumors that Wayne threatened the victim's family. The court never convicted him. But the sealed notes show an investigator suspected hush money. This is dynamite in a family court setting if the judge is open to hearing it. My heart thuds. That means we can prove a pattern of sexual predation. Then add the incest. He can't claim it's a one-time fluke, or that I invented it. Exactly, Brooke says. But Wayne's side will fight to keep it out, calling it irrelevant or hearsay. Our job is to push the judge to consider it under moral fitness grounds for custody. This could be the turning point. I nod, adrenaline surging. I'll be there. Thanks, Brooke. After we hang up, I gaze at the still waters of the lake, the sun just peeking over the horizon. Wayne's monstrous secrets are unraveling. For the first time, I sense a real chance at victory. Inside, Irene hands me a plate of scrambled eggs and toast, Manny munching on bacon at the small dining table. You look determined, Manny comments between bites. I share the update from Brooke. Manny's eyes gleam. So Wayne's skeletons are coming out, huh? That's good. He downs a glass of water. Now let's plan your trip to the hearing. I'll drive, you stay focused. We keep Emma with Irene or do we bring her? Emma's presence in court is tricky. It might sway the judge emotionally, but it's also a risk. Irene, standing by the sink, chimes in. She's safe with me if you want. I can keep her here. Or I can come along and watch her outside the courtroom. I weigh the options. We might need her physically present if the judge wants to see her, but it's not guaranteed. Let's compromise. Irene, come with us and stay at a nearby hotel. If the judge requests Emma, we'll have her close. Otherwise, she stays out of that tension. Irene nods, worry in her eyes. All right, I'll do it. Just promise me we'll keep out of Wayne's crosshairs. I push out a tight smile. I promise Manny and I will watch your back. Inside, I'm grateful to have such loyal allies. Wayne's intimidation might rattle me, but not enough to make me back down. Later that day, while Manny and I are checking the car's oil and tires, ensuring we're prepared for the trip, my phone rings again. It's Charlotte. I glance at Manny, who shrugs. I answer. Her voice is subdued. Martin, Daddy is furious. He says you're pulling skeletons out of his closet. My jaw clenches. So you heard about the partial unsealing of his old assault case? She hesitates. He told me that was a lie, that you're forging documents. He's livid. A bitter laugh escapes my throat. He can't sweep that under the rug anymore. The judge will see it eventually. She exhales shakily. Look, I don't know what to believe. He raised me. He always said he loved me. But I keep thinking about how twisted this is. The shame I feel. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're all caught in something vile. For a moment, my anger softens. Charlotte, it's not too late to do the right thing. You could testify that he's controlling, that Emma's father is Wayne. If you come clean, you might salvage a future relationship with Emma. She sniffles. Daddy says if I betray him, he'll cut me off financially. I have nothing else. And I still can't wrap my head around publicly admitting incest. I rub my forehead, frustration boiling. Money over your daughter's well-being? Over your own sense of morality? She bristles. Don't judge me, Martin. You have no idea how manipulated I've been. He was everything to me before you came along. A wave of pity and revulsion churns my stomach. Then we're at an impasse, because I won't back down from protecting Emma. You can either help or stand aside. She breathes unevenly. So we fight in court, let the entire world see our dirty laundry? Yes, I say simply. That's how it has to be. Unless you choose truth. She falls silent for a long moment. Then the line clicks dead. I lower the phone, Manny eyeing me with concern. Everything good? He asks. I exhale. She's wavering, but I doubt she'll break free from Wayne's hold. We keep moving forward. That evening, as we prepared dinner in Irene's kitchen chopping vegetables, frying chicken cutlets, my phone pings with a text from Nelson. We got a lead on the vanished victim from Wayne's old case, possibly living under a different name in Vermont. A jolt of excitement stabs me. If the victim could confirm Wayne used intimidation or hush money, it'd be a bombshell. Over the sizzling pan, I mention it to Irene, who's sprinkling herbs onto the chicken. She glances at Manny. If you track her down, that's a direct testimonial of Wayne's prior sexual crimes. Manny sets down the spatula. Should I go with Nelson? Maybe we can approach this woman carefully, see if she's willing to talk. But it could be dangerous if Wayne's men catch wind. I consider it, heart pounding. We have about a week before the hearing. If you think you can do it safely, yes. I'll hold the fort here. Then a flicker of worry crosses my mind. Manny's my main security. If he leaves, I might be vulnerable. Irene notices my hesitation. What about your safety if Manny's gone? Wayne might attempt something here at the cabin. Manny's face hardens. We can wait until after the hearing, or I can bring a second guard from my network to watch you. But time is tight. This victim's testimony might seal Wayne's fate. I weigh the risks. We'll see if Nelson can glean enough from a phone interview first. I don't want you leaving me and Emma unprotected. Let's see how it unfolds. If needed, we'll arrange extra security. Manny nods, turning off the stove. The smell of dinner mingles with tension in the air. Even a peaceful meal has the undercurrent of strategy. Wayne's empire is large, but our will is unbreakable. Morning dawns with a phone call from Brooke that jolts me out of half-sleep. Martin, the judge scheduled a preliminary meeting in 2 days to discuss the unsealed record's admissibility. Wayne's lawyers want it blocked. I rub the sleep from my eyes, glancing at Emma sleeping in a bassinet near the bed. I'll be there. Manny and I will drive down tomorrow, stay in a safe location overnight. Brooke's voice is urgent. This is a crucial hearing. If the judge allows the old assault case as evidence of moral unfitness, it's a near knockout blow for Wayne. But if they block it, you'll have a tougher fight. Be prepared to speak if asked. I swallow. I'm ready. After we hang up, Manny pops his head in. Heard your phone ring, everything okay? I fill him in. He nods. Let's plan to leave tonight. Minimize the chance Wayne's goons can intercept us on the road. I glance at Emma's sleeping form. Agreed. I'll coordinate with Irene. She'll follow in her own car, bring Emma. We'll keep Manny between us, form a small caravan. Our plan is set in motion quickly. Irene packs Emma's essentials into a travel bag, her expression steady. I'm with you, Martin, she says softly. Let's get this done. Nightfall sees us on a deserted stretch of highway, Manny's SUV leading the way, Irene's car in the middle, and me following behind. We keep our lights off high beam, scanning for suspicious vehicles. My heart thumps every time a random car passes. Manny checks in via short phone calls. All clear so far? You see any tail? I peer at the rear view. No, just empty road. We arrive at a modest motel on the city outskirts around midnight. Manny inspects the parking lot. Irene parks near a well-lit area, and I pull in next to her. Emma stirs, so I cradle her gently. Manny checks us in under a false name. Jameson, ironically. We slip into 2 adjacent rooms. Once the door locks behind us, I let out a breath. We'll set out for the courthouse first thing tomorrow. Manny nods, propping a chair against the door handle for extra security. Irene, cradling Emma, offers me a faint smile. Go rest. I'll feed her if she wakes. But rest feels impossible. Wayne's case hearing is tomorrow. This might be the moment that old sealed record becomes my golden ticket. Lying on the stiff motel bed, I stare at the ceiling, replaying every detail. The hush money hints, the vanished victim, Wayne's incest with Charlotte, Emma's uncertain future. My pulse thrums with a mix of dread and hope. Morning arrives, tension thick. Manny helps me load Emma's stroller. Irene clutches an overnight bag. We drive downtown, the skyline looming. Manny circles the courthouse block twice, checking for suspicious faces or cars. Satisfied, he parks. We hurry inside, me carrying Emma, Irene close, Manny behind. The father-daughter incest scandal has apparently leaked to some press, because I spot a couple of reporters loitering near the steps, cameras in hand. "Mr. Ellis, is it true you're accusing your father-in-law of fathering your child?" One reporter barks, camera pointed. Manny steps between us, ignoring them. I keep my head down, Emma shielded. Inside, we hurry through security. I see Wayne's lawyers by the elevator giving us a glare. Wayne is nowhere in sight. Possibly he's avoiding press or arrived through a private entrance. In the assigned courtroom, Brooke greets us. "Judge Alvarez will see us shortly. Wayne's team is pushing a motion in limine to exclude the old assault record. I'll argue for its inclusion." She glances at Emma in my arms. "Do you want her inside the hearing or outside with Irene?" I weigh it. "Let's keep Emma with Irene in the hallway. No need for her to witness this. If the judge calls us, we can bring her in." Irene takes Emma, stepping out. Manny stands near the wall, arms folded. We settle at the petitioner's table. My stomach churns with nerves, but I steel myself. This is a pivotal moment. The bailiff announces the hearing. Judge Alvarez, a tall woman with sharp features, ascends the bench. She glances at the docket. "We're here to consider the admissibility of sealed records pertaining to the respondent's alleged sexual assault from 20 years ago. Mr. Wayne's counsel, you first." One of Wayne's lawyers, a slick man in a pinstripe suit, rises. "Your Honor, these records are irrelevant to the current custody dispute. The allegations were dismissed with no conviction. The matter is prejudicial and has no bearing on Mr. Wayne's relationship with his daughter, Miss Charlotte Ellis." Brooke stands next, voice calm. "Your Honor, this old record demonstrates a pattern of sexual misconduct. We have current evidence that Mr. Wayne engaged in an incestuous relationship with Missy Ellis, his daughter, and fathered a child. This sealed assault case shows how he used intimidation in the past, establishing that it's not an isolated incident." The pinstripe lawyer objects. "This is pure character assassination. The alleged incest is also unproven based on dubious DNA results." Brooke counters by submitting partial evidence of the paternity test. The judge's brow knits with concern. If indeed the father of Miss Ellis's child is Mr. Wayne, that is deeply disturbing. The question is whether the old assault case is relevant to moral fitness. She flips through the documents. My heart hammers in the silence. Finally, she looks up. "I'm inclined to allow these records under seal for in-camera review, meaning I will privately review them and determine if they're admissible in open court. If they show a similar pattern of sexual coercion, it may indeed be relevant." Wayne's lawyer sputters. "Your Honor, that's still unfair. The alleged victim never testified." Judge Alvarez raises a hand. "Enough. This is a family court matter, and moral concerns are paramount. I will review the sealed record personally, then issue a ruling on its admissibility before trial." She turns to me for the first time. "Mr. Ellis, if you have any direct knowledge tying this old case to your present allegations, now's the time to speak." I stand, swallowing my nerves. "Your Honor, I've discovered Wayne changed his name from Walter Crane after this assault case. I also have evidence he threatened a witness in my own custody dispute. His intimidation tactics are ongoing. The pattern is that he uses fear and hush money." She holds my gaze. "Thank you, Mr. Ellis. I will take that into consideration." After the hearing, Brooke and I step into the corridor. My legs feel wobbly from the intensity. "So the judge will review the old records in private. We might get them admitted?" Brooke nods, lips curving into a small smile. "Yes, that's better than I expected. Wayne's team wanted them outright excluded. Now we wait to see what Judge Alvarez decides. If she rules it relevant, Wayne's moral fitness is in deep trouble." Just then, Wayne himself appears with Charlotte at his side. He levels a glare at me, ignoring Manny's protective stance. "You think dredging up ancient nonsense will help you, boy? That case was dismissed. I'm unstoppable." I square my shoulders. "You keep telling yourself that. The truth is out, Wayne." He sneers, turning to Charlotte. "Let's go. This charade is beneath us." They sweep away, flanked by lawyers. My eyes flick to Charlotte's face. She meets my gaze for a fleeting second, sadness etched in her eyes. Then she looks down. As they vanish into the elevator, Manny exhales. "You handled that well. Didn't punch him or anything." I let out a bitter laugh. Tempting, but I'm playing the long game, hitting him where it hurts most, in court. We retrieve Emma and Irene from the hallway. Emma squirms in my arms, smiling at Manny. I kiss her temple, thankful she's too young to understand these tensions. Brooke invites us to her office for a quick recap. There, over a battered wooden conference table, Brooke recaps. Next step is to await Judge Alvarez's decision. Then we proceed to the formal custody trial. If the judge rules the old assault record admissible, Wayne may attempt a settlement or go nuclear with intimidation. I run a hand through my hair. I expect nuclear intimidation. He's not the type to settle gracefully. Brooke arches a brow. Keep Manny close, and get ready to present more evidence. We'll need everything lined up. The nanny's affidavit, your mother-in-law's statement, the partial video of incest, the paternity test. Judge Alvarez seems receptive. A swirl of gratitude and dread fills me. Thank you, Brooke. We'll see this through. We leave the courthouse area, Manny guiding us to the parking garage. Before we exit, 2 reporters corner me. Manny tries to brush them off, but one calls out, "Is it true your wife's father is also her lover?" My stomach knots. Manny tries blocking them, but I realize the rumor is fully in the open. Maybe a short statement might shape the narrative. I hold a hand up to Manny. "I'll speak briefly." The reporter's eyes gleam. "So it's real?" I keep my voice steady. "Yes, I have strong evidence Wayne is Charlotte's father and also father of her child, Emma. This is a moral issue I'm fighting in family court. My only concern is my daughter's safety. That's all." They barrage me with follow-ups. "How did you discover the incest? Are you doing this for money? Is Charlotte a victim?" Manny steps forward, but I shake my head and speak calmly. "She's an adult, but yes, I believe she was groomed. The child is my concern. Now excuse me. Thank you." I slip past them, Manny close behind, Emma fussing. Irene shoots me a concerned look. "That was brave. Wayne might spin it as slander, but you delivered it as fact." I nod, heart pounding. This entire fiasco is about truth, not rumor. Let the press spin it. I'll hold my ground in court because I am done living in Wayne's shadow. We drive out of the garage, tension lodged in my chest. But for once, I feel a sense of forward momentum. Judge Alvarez's private review might be the last piece. Wayne's fortress of lies is cracking. Soon I'll protect Emma fully, and Charlotte will have to face the monstrous reality she's aided. Though this war is far from over, I can see the path ahead and I'm not retreating. We return to Irene's cabin that night, the drive back slower as Manny keeps an eye out for possible tales. Once inside, we lock the doors and settle Emma in for the night. My phone rings. It's Nelson, his voice tinged with excitement. "Martin, I tracked down that old victim from Wayne's prior assault case. She's in Vermont, changed her name to Sharon Caldwell. She agreed to speak with me by phone, but she's terrified." My heart thumps. "Will she sign an affidavit?" Nelson exhales. "She's hesitant. She wants assurance Wayne can't find her, but she confirmed he threatened her family all those years ago, paid them off to drop charges. She was underage at the time." A chill runs through me. If she testifies or at least gives a statement to the judge, that's devastating for Wayne. Did she mention the incest angle? Not specifically. But she said Wayne bragged about controlling women, even mentioned having an unusual hold over a female relative. She didn't recall details, but it aligns with everything else. I pinch the bridge of my nose. We have to handle her carefully. If Wayne's men learn she's cooperating, they might try to silence her. Let's see if Brooke can set up a sealed deposition or something. But this is huge, Nelson. Thank you. He chuckles. Just be safe. Wayne might suspect we've found her. Watch your six. I end the call, Manny and Irene hovering nearby. I fill them in on the gist. Manny blows out a breath. Wayne's rap sheet is monstrous. If we can get that victim's testimony, Wayne's done. Irene nods, arms folded. But we can't force her. She has every right to be scared. People vanish when Wayne feels threatened. I settle onto the couch, feeling a weight on my chest. This is the final step, maybe. If the victim supports the story of hush money, intimidation, and sexual assault, the judge sees a consistent pattern. Then the incest claim becomes not just plausible, but likely. Emma's custody would be sealed in my favor. Over the next couple of days, I juggle phone calls with Brooke about Sharon Caldwell's possible involvement. Brooke suggests we do a remote affidavit or a sealed statement. Manny organizes an additional guard to watch the roads near Irene's cabin at night. The tension intensifies as we sense Wayne must be planning something big. One morning, Irene heads out to get groceries, Manny tailing her in a separate car. I stay behind with Emma. I relish an hour of normal father-daughter time, feeding her mashed bananas, watching her crawl around a soft blanket near the fireplace. My heart aches with love. Regardless of biology, Emma's my child in every meaningful sense. As I'm cleaning up a spilled sippy cup, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging or face consequences. The hair on my neck stands up. Classic Wayne intimidation. I text Manny, another threat. Keep eyes open. He replies instantly, copy. We're almost back. Sighing, I scoop Emma into my arms, breathing in her baby shampoo scent. Don't worry, sweet girl, I whisper. We're almost free of him. She coos, oblivious. That evening, Manny and Irene return with a trunk full of groceries. Over a simple pasta dinner, Manny's phone rings. He answers, frowns. It's a contact in the city. Says Wayne's men are sniffing around for your location. They suspect you're holed up in a cabin north of here. Manny glances at me. We have to be ready for a potential intrusion. I nod, heart pounding. We'll keep watch. If they try anything, we call the feds immediately. Irene's face pales. I'll lock all windows, keep Emma close. Manny, you handle perimeter checks? He nods. Yes, and I'll ask my buddy Drew to come up. We can form a rotating watch. I place a comforting hand on Irene's arm. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. Wayne is unstoppable in his own mind. Her eyes flick to Emma, playing with a plush toy on the rug. It's worth it to protect that little angel from him. A surge of gratitude wells up in me. Thank you. After dinner, Manny sets up motion sensors outside, rigging them to an app on his phone. I help haul firewood indoors, ensuring we can keep the place lit without stepping outside too often. I can't believe how far we've come from normal city life to a fortress mentality, but so be it. Close to midnight, Manny's phone buzzes with a sensor alert. We're all in the living room. He leaps to his feet, scanning the app. Movement near the tree line. My pulse spikes. You see anyone? He steps to a window, peering into the dark. Hard to say. Could be an animal. Let me check. I try to contain my shaking as Manny slips out the back door, armed. Irene clutches Emma, who's startled awake. I push the baby's stroller near the couch, ready to flee if needed. Every second stretch is taut. Suddenly, Manny's voice crackles through my phone. 2 figures skulking around. They bolted when I approached. I see footprints. My heart pounds. Should we call the cops? He exhales. Might be wise, but they're likely gone. I'll secure the perimeter, then we can file a report. I do just that, calling the local sheriff. By the time a deputy arrives, Manny's footprints probably muddle the scene. The deputy shrugs. Could be hunters, maybe kids messing around. He jots a brief note, clearly not eager to tangle with Wayne or big city drama. Irritation boils in me, but Manny signals me to let it go. As the deputy leaves, Manny whispers, Local law might be compromised too. We'll handle it ourselves. That uneasy night cements my resolve. Wayne's men are testing us, probing for a weak point. But I won't break. Morning dawns, bringing no further incident. Irene, Manny, and I decide enough is enough. We need more layers of security until the final court date. Manny contacts a retired Special Forces buddy who'll come watch the cabin part-time. Meanwhile, I call Brooke to push for an earlier final hearing if possible. Brooke picks up, sounding tired. Martin, I can't expedite the final hearing without cause. The judge is still reviewing Wayne's old record. We might get a date next week or the week after. I rub the bridge of my nose. All right. But Wayne's men came by last night. This is dangerous. She sighs. I'm sorry, the legal system isn't built for speed. Just hold tight. If Wayne tries anything major, it'll only sabotage his case further. True, but living on pins and needles is draining. After the call, I rejoin Manny in the living room, where Emma crawls on the blanket. Irene rubs my shoulder. We'll get through this, Martin. Her presence, Manny's competence, and Emma's innocence are my anchors. The storms swirl outside, but inside I fortify my will. 2 days pass with no further intrusions, though Manny spots fresh tire tracks near the main road. By now, Manny's friend Drew arrives, a tall, bearded man with calm eyes. He sets up a small RV half a mile down the road, acting as an early lookout. This tiny fortress becomes our routine. Manny or Drew patrol at night. Irene and I focus on Emma's daily needs. One afternoon, we gather around the table as Manny fries chicken. The phone rings Brooke again. I answer, breath bated. She cuts straight to the point. Judge Alvarez just ruled the old assault record relevant. She's allowing it into evidence for the moral fitness portion. I slump into a chair, relief flooding me. Manny catches my expression, eyes bright. "That's it?" he mouths. I nod, giving him a thumbs up. Brooke continues, "Wayne's attorneys are furious, threatening appeals, but for now we can introduce the record. This is huge, Martin. We show the judge the hush money pattern, the intimidation." Combined with the incest claim, Wayne's moral defense collapses. My pulse thrums with hope. This might lead to awarding me permanent custody, right? She's cautious. Likely, but we still have to present everything in trial. Wayne won't roll over. The date is set for next Monday. Final arguments. Are you ready? I share a look with Manny, who nods. Yes, we'll come down. We'll bring all evidence. Manny's friend Drew will watch the cabin if needed. We finalize details, then hang up. Manny whoops, flipping the chicken cutlet with extra flair. Irene laughs, hugging Emma to her chest. For once, the tension lifts, replaced by a sense of near triumph. On Sunday, the day before the final hearing, we do a final run-through with Brooke at her office. Manny parks in a guarded lot. Irene babysits Emma in a corner with building blocks while we gather around a conference table. Brooke has organized everything meticulously. The paternity test results, with verified chain of custody. The partial video showing Charlotte entering Wayne's bedroom in lingerie, plus the balcony kiss. Affidavits from the nanny, Charlotte's estranged mother Diana, and the newly found assault victim, Sharon Caldwell, who gave a sworn statement about Wayne's intimidation tactics. The sealed record detailing Wayne's old assault case, now unsealed for moral fitness. Brooke flips through them. We'll start by establishing Wayne's pattern of sexual misconduct, then show how it escalated to incest with his daughter. Finally, we argue that awarding custody to Martin is the only moral and safe solution for Emma. I rub my hands together to quell nerves. What about Charlotte's stance? She might appear as a brainwashed adult or claim she's a consenting partner. Brooke shrugs. Even if so, the court generally sees father-daughter incest as inherently coercive. Charlotte's mental state also supports that. She may well be a victim, but that only shows Wayne's a predator. Nelson, sitting quietly at the end of the table, speaks up. Wayne might pull a last-minute trick. He's known for bribing witnesses or forging documents. Be prepared. I nod solemnly. Manny crosses his arms. If he tries anything physical, we'll handle it. We finalize the plan. Manny accompanies me to court. Irene waits outside with Emma, ready to bring her in if the judge requests. Nelson stands by in case we need extra documents. Brooke leads the charge. This is it, the final battle. The next morning, Manny drives me, Irene, and Emma to the courthouse. Drew trails in a separate car. We arrive early to avoid the press frenzy. Inside, we see Wayne's lawyers milling around, tension crackling in the corridor. No sign of Wayne yet. A bailiff directs us to a large courtroom. Manny sits behind me, arms folded. Irene quietly holds Emma near the back. The judge Alvarez enters. Everyone rises. The trial begins. Wayne's team opens with a scathing statement, calling me an embittered son-in-law spinning incest fantasies for financial gain. They dismiss the paternity test as mishandled, claim the old assault record is irrelevant hearsay. Then Brooke calmly rises. She lays out the timeline, Charlotte's suspicious phone calls, the text messages from WW, the video, the hush money references, the DNA test showing Wayne is Emma's father. Next, she references the newly unsealed assault case. Your Honor, we have reason to believe Wayne, formerly Walter Crane, not only assaulted an underage girl, but used threats and payoffs. The same pattern emerges here with Charlotte, who was raised and manipulated by Wayne. Charlotte sits at Wayne's table, eyes downcast. Wayne stares at me with pure hatred. My pulse gallops as Brooke calls me to the stand. I step up, get sworn in, and speak my truth. I describe the day I found the jacket embroidered WW, the suspicious texts, the haunting DNA test. My voice trembles, recalling how I felt discovering Emma wasn't biologically mine. Then I steel myself, explaining the fear that Wayne might harm Emma. Wayne's lawyer cross-examines me harshly. Isn't it true you disliked Wayne's success? Tried to blackmail him? I keep my tone measured. No, I only sought the truth. My love for Emma compels me to keep her safe from an incestuous father figure. The lawyer sneers but can't shake my testimony. The judge watches intently. After I step down, Brooke presents affidavits from the nanny and Charlotte's mother. The mother's statement is devastating, describing Wayne's controlling nature, hints of inappropriate conduct. The nanny recounts nights Wayne vanished into Charlotte's room. Finally, Brooke references Sharon Caldwell's statement, read into the record. It outlines Wayne's prior assault and hush money. The tension in the courtroom is palpable. Wayne's lawyers attempt to dismiss it as ancient, unproven. But the judge appears increasingly disturbed, glancing at Wayne with disapproval. Next, Charlotte is called to testify. My heart aches seeing her approach the stand, trembling. She sits, eyes flicking between the judge and her father. I love my father, she begins, voice shaky. He took care of me. She falters. We had a relationship that was unorthodox. Her cheeks flush. But he always said it was our secret, that no one would understand. A hush falls. Wayne shifts in his seat, face stormy. Charlotte continues softly. I guess I was confused. I thought it was love. Then Emma came and everything got scarier. Daddy threatened to cut me off if I told Martin. Her eyes brim with tears. I was torn. Brooke gently leads her to confirm Wayne fathered Emma. Tears roll down Charlotte's cheeks as she nods. Wayne's lawyer objects, tries to stifle her testimony, but the judge overrules. Charlotte's confession rings through the silent room. Yes, Wayne is Emma's biological father. A bombshell hush envelops the courtroom. Wayne leaps up, shouting, Charlotte, you ungrateful! The judge bangs her gavel, ordering him to sit or face contempt. The tension is electric. In the final arguments, Brooke underscores the incest confession, linking it to Wayne's predatory history, forcibly painting him as morally unfit for any custody. Wayne's team sputters, claiming Charlotte's coerced by me, but the damage is done. Judge Alvarez takes a deep breath, scanning the courtroom. I've heard enough. This is a deeply troubling case. Morally, legally, it's almost inconceivable. I will recess to deliberate on custody. Return in 1 hour for my ruling. We file out. My pulse is a jackhammer. Manny claps my shoulder. She basically admitted the incest. That's huge. Irene stands nearby, Emma in her arms. I lean over, kiss Emma's forehead. Charlotte's confession might have sealed Wayne's fate. When we reconvene, the judge's voice is stern. I find that Wayne has engaged in incestuous conduct, fathering a child with Miss Charlotte Ellis. His prior record of sexual misconduct and intimidation further indicates a pattern. I rule he is morally unfit to share custody or have contact with minor Emma Ellis. Temporary full custody is granted to Martin Ellis, pending final documentation. Charlotte Ellis may petition for limited visitation after psychological evaluation. Court adjourned. A wave of relief slams into me, tears stinging my eyes. Manny grips my arm, murmuring, You did it, boss. Irene smiles through tears, pressing Emma into my arms. My daughter is safe. Wayne erupts in curses, his attorneys trying to calm him. Charlotte stands there, hollow-eyed. I spare her a look of pity. Then Manny ushers me away from the chaos, out the door. Emma's warm weight in my arms is all that matters. I've won the ultimate fight, protecting my child from a monstrous father. I'd thought taking Emma into my custody thanks to the judge's preliminary ruling would bring me relief. But the following week, tension coiled tighter than ever. I sensed Wayne wouldn't sit idle. My phone constantly pinged with rumors about him scheming. Sometimes they were vague tips from Nelson, who stayed in the city digging around. Other times it was Brooke telling me the next legal maneuver Wayne's counsel had in mind. Late one night, while Manny was out patrolling the woods around Irene's cabin, I sat on the edge of the couch, feeding Emma a small bottle. She gazed at me, brown eyes trusting, wholly unaware of the storm swirling around us. Irene hovered in the kitchen making a pot of tea. I felt torn between gratitude my daughter was safe in my arms and anxiety that Wayne might strike in some desperate way. A series of knocks on the cabin door made both Irene and me jump. She flicked a glance at me, alarmed. I rose, Emma cradled in one arm and motioned for Irene to stay back. Manny was outside, so the knock had to be someone else. Who is it? I called, my voice low. "It's me," came Manny's muffled reply. He stepped in, wiping sweat from his brow. "I heard twigs snapping on the east side of the property. Could be wildlife, but I'm not sure. This place is too open, Martin. Might be time we consider a better defensive layout." I sighed, rocking Emma gently. We can't turn Irene's home into a fortress, but I won't risk Emma's safety. Irene approached, setting down tea. "I've been thinking about that. We could convert the old storage shed into a secure panic room. It's barely used, but Manny said with some modifications, it might work." I nodded, tension knotting my neck. "Let's do it, whatever it takes. If Wayne or his men show up, Emma and Irene can barricade themselves inside while Manny and I handle the threat." It sounded dramatic, but Wayne's final meltdown was likely coming, and I refused to be caught off guard. The next morning, Manny and I walked out to that storage shed. It sat about 30 yards from the main cabin, partially hidden by a cluster of pines. Inside, it smelled faintly of mildew and old lumber scraps. We found enough space to potentially install a reinforced door, maybe an interior generator or extra lockboxes for supplies. Manny ran a finger over dusty shelves, nodding. "We'll need steel plating, a better lock. If Wayne's guys come with guns, we want at least some barrier." I was no survivalist, but Manny had seen combat during his military days. If he said we needed it, I trusted him. "Let's plan it. We'll keep it minimal. I don't want to freak Emma out every day, but if we need it, it's here." He gave a grim chuckle. "Wayne might not do anything overt, but kidnappers can be sneaky, better safe than sorry." Walking back, I stared at the tranquil lake. The reflection of the early morning sun danced on the water, mocking the paranoia I felt. Life here should be idyllic, but Wayne's shadow lingered over everything. Manny rummaged for his phone, making calls to arrange for materials. I rubbed my forehead, wishing I could just be a normal dad taking my daughter for a walk without scanning the tree line for threats. Inside, Irene was feeding Emma mashed fruit. She offered me a smile that was half encouragement, half apology. "I never planned on turning my cabin into a bunker," she said softly, "but I want to help." I managed a nod, heart heavy. "Thank you. This is temporary. Once Wayne's fully neutralized, we can live without fear." Emma babbled, oblivious to grown-up complexities. News about Wayne's meltdown in court had rippled through the city. Some tabloids ran lurid headlines about incest tycoon disgraced. Nelson told me investors were fleeing Wayne's various holdings. Politicians distanced themselves. Even the police chief Wayne once controlled was pivoting, apparently cooperating with the feds. If not for Wayne's formidable will and rumored offshore accounts, he might have already folded. But he was cunning, still out on bail for the moment, though the big federal charges were looming. One afternoon, Irene tapped my shoulder as I was organizing documents on the kitchen table. "Martin, it's Charlotte on the phone," she whispered, covering the mouthpiece. I tensed. "What does she want?" Irene shrugged. "She said it's urgent. She sounds different." I took the phone warily. "Charlotte?" Her voice crackled, laced with what seemed like genuine desperation. "Martin, Daddy's losing it. He's locked himself in his penthouse, screaming about how no one will take his empire. I'm worried he'll do something truly insane, like come after you and Emma. Please, be careful." I clenched my jaw. "Why are you warning me now?" She let out a shaky breath. "Because I realize how bad this is. I'm no saint, I know that. But Emma's innocent, and Wayne's ranting about punishing you for humiliating him in court." A swirl of conflicting emotions rose in me: anger, pity, fear. "Charlotte, if you want to help, then give me details. Where is he? Who's with him? Are his men armed?" She paused. "I'm not sure. He has a few loyal bodyguards. I overheard him ordering them to find your hideout. Martin, I'm sorry for everything. I'm leaving him." "I can't stand this anymore." My lips parted, shock mingling with caution. "Are you serious?" she sniffled. "Yes, I'm packing a bag tonight and getting out. I might check into a women's shelter. Don't worry, I won't come near Emma. I just can't watch him destroy everyone." Despite everything, a small part of me ached at her sorrow. But I'd built up armor. "Fine. If you have info that can keep Emma safe, text me. Otherwise, good luck." I hung up, chest tight. When Manny returned from a supply run, I relayed Charlotte's call. He set down a toolbox. Could be a trap or a genuine meltdown. Either way, we prepare. That evening, Manny's friend Drew arrived, parking a battered SUV near the cabin. He was a tall, quiet man with a scar on his left cheek. He introduced himself politely. I served with Manny overseas. Heard you needed extra eyes out here. I shook his hand. Thanks for coming. Wayne is powerful and desperate. We just want to ensure Emma's not taken. Drew nodded. I get it. Manny filled me in on the incest twist. That's messed up. Don't worry. I'm not squeamish about dealing with scumbags. He set up a small tent near the edge of the property, planning to rotate watch shifts with Manny. Meanwhile, I double-checked the new locks on the cabin doors, tested the motion sensors Manny rigged, and set a small camera feed on my laptop, pointing at the driveway. Irene frowned at the transformation of her cozy lodge into a fortress but didn't complain. Emma, in her baby bliss, had no idea her home bristled with security. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lying on the couch, I stared at the ceiling, the faint glow of the moon through the windows. My mind replayed Charlotte's call. Could she be serious about leaving Wayne? She might be battered emotionally, but she was cunning too. If she was sincere, then Wayne was truly unhinged. That might mean a final confrontation was imminent. My pulse pounded at the thought of him barreling up the dirt road with armed men, determined to snatch Emma. But I had Manny, Drew, and the advantage of being forewarned. If Wayne tried, I'd be ready. Midway through the week, Brooke phoned with a new development in the legal sphere. The judge scheduled a final hearing to confirm custody. She wants to see if there's any reason to modify her earlier ruling. But with Wayne's meltdown, plus Charlotte's meltdown, it's likely a formality. I exhaled, relief warring with dread. So if all goes well, Emma's custody becomes permanent? Essentially, yes, Brooke said. However, Wayne's attorneys, or the new ones he hires, might claim Charlotte was coerced to confess incest, but we have the paternity test. Also, the feds are building a case for racketeering, kidnapping, conspiracy. It's a lot. Wayne's credibility is shot. I leaned against the cabin wall, Emma snoozing in a sling around my chest. Let him try to squirm. This time, we have everything locked down. Brooke paused. Martin, watch your back. Cornered animals are dangerous. Wayne might lash out before the final hearing. Keep Manny close. I told her about Drew's arrival and our precautions. She sounded reassured. After we hung up, I found Manny outside, stacking leftover steel plates near the shed. I relayed Brooke's update, and Manny gave a curt nod. Good, let him come. We'll hold the line. Despite Manny's bravado, I spotted tension in the set of his shoulders. We were all on edge, anticipating Wayne's next move. 2 days later, around dusk, I caught Irene rummaging in her pantry. She looked thoughtful, pulling out old jars of jam, dried food. I'm restocking stuff in the shed for emergencies, she explained, glancing at me. I figure if we have to lock ourselves in there, might as well not starve. I set Emma in her playpen and moved to help, stacking cans. Thanks. I appreciate everything you're doing. She paused, biting her lip. We've come a long way from the day you showed up. I never thought I'd be an accomplice in an incest scandal fiasco. But I'm glad to help keep Emma safe. And you too, Martin. A warmth spread through me. Despite the grim circumstances, we'd forged a deep connection. I owe you so much, Irene. When this is over, maybe we can... I trailed off, uncertain how to phrase my hopes. That maybe we could build a life here, away from the city's corruption, away from the memory of Charlotte's betrayal. She smiled softly. I know. Let's talk about it once Wayne's behind bars for good. Before we could elaborate, Manny yelled from outside. Martin, Irene, guys, come see this. We rushed out to find Manny on the porch, phone in hand, reading a text from Nelson. Wayne might be heading your way. Charlotte left him. He's raging. My heart hammered. Manny gripped the phone. Nelson says Wayne's penthouse staff reported he stormed out with 2 of his henchmen, muttering about finishing you off. A cold sweat broke over me. We need to lock down. Manny nodded vigorously, barking instructions. Drew, circle the perimeter. Irene, gather Emma's essentials. Martin, get your laptop and phone. Let's converge in the cabin. Lights off. The next 20 minutes were a whirl of activity. I hurried to secure the windows, shutting curtains. Irene placed Emma in a baby carrier on her chest, pressing a soft blanket around her. Manny and Drew each took positions outside, rifles slung over their shoulders, earpieces linking them to me. The sky darkened, clouds blotting out the moon. The forest grew eerily still. I stood in the dim living room, checking the motion sensor feed. Irene hovered near me, pale but determined. "You think Wayne will charge in, guns blazing?" I swallowed. He might try stealth or send men to burn us out. Hard to predict. But Manny and Drew are trained. We'll hold tight. Tense minutes dragged by in silence. Then Manny's voice crackled in my earpiece. "2 vehicles on the main road, headlights off. Looks like SUVs. They're stopping about a quarter-mile out." My stomach twisted. That had to be Wayne. "Got it," I whispered. "Do we call the feds?" Manny responded, "Yes, I'll get them on the line. But they might not arrive in time. Stand by." I quickly dialed the contact from the federal agent who'd intervened last time. He picked up, sounding urgent. "We've been tracking Wayne's movements. Local units are en route, but it'll take time." I cursed under my breath. "We'll try to hold out. Hurry!" I clicked off, turning to Irene. Her eyes shone with fear, but she whispered, "We go to the shed?" I hesitated. "Wait, let me see if Manny suggests it. I don't want you caught in crossfire." Another beep from my earpiece. Manny again. "Martin, I see men on foot, maybe 4 or 5, creeping along the tree line. Wayne might be with them." The tension was suffocating. I told Irene, "Take Emma to the shed. Lock yourselves in." She nodded, face set. I escorted her outside, heart pounding. Drew scurried over, rifle in hand. "I'll cover you. Manny's on the other side." We hustled across the short distance. I opened the shed door, revealing the newly installed steel interior door and some emergency supplies. Irene slipped inside with Emma, locking from within. My chest clenched, but I forced a calm breath. This was the plan. Drew patted my shoulder. "Let's back Manny up. We'll push them away from the cabin." We circled around to the front porch, kneeling behind some thick logs Manny had stacked for cover. Manny crouched there, scanning the darkness with night vision binoculars. 4 men, plus a 5th trailing, possibly Wayne. They're about 100 yards out. Drew whispered, "We wait for them to approach, or we engage first?" Manny gritted his teeth. "I'd like them to show themselves. If they cross into lethal range, we'll warn them off." I just listened, my pulse pounding so loud I could barely hear. A whisper in Manny's earpiece crackled federal units might be 15 minutes away. That felt like an eternity. For now, it was just us. A creeping sound in the brush made me raise my head, adrenaline surging. Manny hissed, "They're splitting up." Indeed, dark silhouettes fanned out. One figure advanced closer. I gripped Manny's spare sidearm, heart hammering in my ears. Then a voice echoed from the gloom, "Ellis!" It was Wayne, unmistakable. He spat fury into the night. "Come out, you coward, or we'll burn this place to the ground." I exchanged a glance with Manny, who signaled to remain silent. Wayne's voice continued, "You humiliated me in court, stole my daughter, my granddaughter. You think I'm done? I own you. Come face me like a man." Hatred flared in my chest. Manny met my gaze, shook his head in silent caution. We waited, breath bated, as Wayne cursed and stomped. Shots rang out, someone fired into the air. Drew tensed. Manny forced a calm hush. Another shot. They were trying to flush us out. My grip tightened on the gun. One of Wayne's men stepped too close to the motion sensors, triggering a beep on Manny's phone. Manny flicked off the safety on his rifle, yelling, "Stop right there! You're trespassing on private property! Put your weapons down!" A frantic hush. Then Wayne's snarl, "Shoot them!" Bullets whizzed overhead, splintering wood from the porch railing. Manny and Drew returned fire with short, precise bursts. I ducked low, mind racing. This was a genuine firefight, something I never wanted. Fear hammered in my chest, but Emma's safety fueled me. The crack of gunfire echoed across the lake. One of Wayne's goons cried out in pain, hit by Manny or Drew's shot. The rest scattered for cover. Manny yelled, "You want to keep pushing? We'll hold you off until cops arrive." Another short exchange of bullets rattled through the night. In the chaos, Wayne's voice roared again, "I'm not leaving without that child, you hear me? She's mine by blood." My stomach churned. Manny fired another round toward Wayne's direction. I glimpsed a figure diving behind a fallen log. Shouts of panic erupted among Wayne's men. They hadn't expected real resistance. Drew tapped my shoulder, pointing to the side flank. They might circle around the shed. My heart froze where Irene and Emma were hiding. Manny, overhearing, muttered curses. Drew, go. Cover that side. Martin, stay with me. Keep them pinned here. I nodded, wiping sweat off my brow. Another bullet cracked overhead. Manny fired back, a muzzle flash lighting the porch for an instant. The attacker cursed, presumably retreating. My lungs burned with each breath, the raw smell of gunpowder filling my nostrils. This had to end soon, or someone would die. Suddenly, sirens wailed in the distance. Manny's phone beeped federal agents and local squads were closing in. Wayne's men heard it too. Anxious shouts rippled among them. A final flurry of gunfire rattled the trees, then footsteps pounded away as they tried to flee. I risked a glance over the porch railing, seeing silhouettes disappearing into the darkness. Manny advanced a step, rifle ready, shouting, "Drop your weapons! Law enforcement is on the way!" Shots from deeper in the woods sounded, maybe Drew exchanging fire with stragglers, then the crack of a siren blaring close by. Red and blue lights flickered through the pines. Manny exhaled sharply. "They're retreating. Let's check the perimeter." He signaled me to stay behind, but I shook my head. I have to see if Irene and Emma are safe. Gun in hand, we sprinted around the cabin, adrenaline roaring in my ears. We found Drew near the shed's entrance, panting, holding his rifle. Two of Wayne's men lay on the ground, writhing in pain from gunshot wounds. Another seemed unconscious. Drew gave a curt nod. "They tried to flank. I stopped them. Irene and Emma are fine inside." My knees almost buckled with relief. Manny covered the wounded men's weapons, kicking them away. Within seconds, a swarm of law enforcement vehicles screeched up the driveway, lights splashing across the trees. Agents poured out, guns raised, securing the scene. I pounded on the shed door. "Irene! It's Martin! It's safe!" The steel door unlatched, revealing Irene trembling, Emma fussing in her arms but physically unharmed. I gently scooped them both into an embrace, tears burning my eyes. "We're okay," I whispered. "They're gone." As the feds secured the site, Manny pulled me aside. "We didn't see Wayne's body. He must have run off." My jaw clenched. Even though we'd repelled his assault, Wayne might still be free. But at least Emma was safe, and his men were captured. One agent recognized me from before, nodding. "We'll find Wayne. He's a wanted man." Amid the swirling sirens, the bloodied attackers on the ground, and the FBI interviews that followed, I clutched Emma close. We'd survived Wayne's desperate counterstrike. The end felt near. Only one final blow remained to lock Wayne behind bars for good. The aftermath of Wayne's failed assault buzzed through local and national headlines. Reporters swarmed the cabin property the next morning, snapping photos of the bullet-riddled porch, the shell casings on the ground. Manny kept them at bay while federal agents scoured the woods, searching for any sign of Wayne. Irene stood by, arms folded, looking both anxious and relieved. Emma had slept fitfully. I'd stayed up, rocking her, feeling a swirl of emotions, relief we survived, dread that Wayne remained at large. The feds confirmed 2 of Wayne's men were in custody, 1 critically wounded. He might talk about Wayne's location if threatened with serious charges. Midday, Brooke arrived, stepping gingerly around the churned-up dirt. "Jesus," she murmured, surveying the damage. "You guys okay?" I nodded. "We're shaken but alive. Wayne's men attacked last night. He wasn't captured." Brooke exhaled, setting a stack of paperwork on the cabin's small dining table. "Well, let's see. The good news is this fiasco cements the argument that Wayne's unfit. The judge will see a man who tried a violent kidnapping. No one can argue custody now." I sank into a chair, exhaustion dragging at me. "So what next?" "The final hearing is soon." She tapped the papers. "The hearing is scheduled in 3 days. With this new evidence attempted armed assault, Wayne's case is essentially dead. Charlotte's rights remain terminated unless she completes therapy. You, Martin, stand on strong ground." She offered a small smile. "Emma's safe and legally, you're basically unstoppable now." Despite the grim aura, I let out a shaky laugh. Unstoppable is the last thing I feel, but I appreciate it. Brooke flipped open a folder. "I'll file an emergency motion referencing last night's attack, ensuring Wayne can't wiggle free. If he shows up at the hearing, I suspect the cops will nab him. Otherwise, we'll finalize custody in his absence." I rubbed my temples. That might be best, though I'd like to see him locked up. I still fear a last-ditch ambush. Manny came in, wiping sweat from his brow. No sign of Wayne out there. Feds think he fled in a waiting car. He nodded at Brooke. So we just wait? Brooke shrugged. We present everything in court. The system will do the rest. Eventually, Wayne will run out of holes to hide in. I'm sorry it's not more straightforward. Over the next 2 days, Manny insisted on extra vigilance. Drew stayed as well. Irene offered to put them up in a small guest house behind the cabin, which we hastily cleaned out. Emma was too young to be rattled by armed guards, but every time I saw Manny and Drew patrolling the property, rifles slung over their shoulders, an ache of sadness welled in me. Life had become a siege. At night after dinner, Manny showed me pictures from a small drone he borrowed from a friend. He'd flown it around the property perimeter. All quiet, he said. No suspicious footprints. But in his eyes, I saw the same tension I felt. Wayne was out there, possibly wounded, definitely enraged. I tried to distract myself by focusing on fatherhood tasks, reading bedtime stories to Emma, rocking her gently by the fireplace, letting her tiny hand clutch my finger. Irene lingered, offering calm presence. We rarely spoke about the deeper bond forming between us, but it glowed in quiet gestures. She'd brush my shoulder in reassurance, or I'd help her gather wildflowers for the table, each moment forging closeness. Nelson called from the city with updates. Wayne's accounts were partially frozen by federal order. His old accomplices were flipping on him. Every path he took was closing. The FBI suspected he might attempt fleeing the country. But his name is everywhere, Nelson said. Good luck skipping out. Still, the tension in me refused to subside. The final hearing approached, and we had to drive back to the city for it. Manny planned a secure route, 2 cars traveling in tandem with Drew. Irene decided to stay behind unless I wanted Emma with me in court. I wrestled with the question, bring Emma or not? Ultimately, Manny and I agreed Emma would be safer at the cabin with Irene. If Wayne tried something at the courthouse, Emma wouldn't be in the crossfire. Manny said, we'll handle the hearing. You get the official custody ruling, then come back. Drew can watch over Irene and Emma here. It made sense. My heart twinged at leaving Emma behind, but Manny was right. Wayne's unpredictable fury could strike at the courthouse. Better to keep Emma safe in the fortress we'd established. Early on the morning of the hearing, Manny and I packed the car. Irene cradled Emma, pressing a gentle kiss to my cheek. Come back soon. You'll have the official decree in hand and Wayne can't do anything about it. Right? I forced a smile. That's the plan. I kissed Emma's forehead. She babbled, tugging on my collar. My chest tightened. I'll see you tonight, sweet girl. Drew lingered by the porch, rifle slung. I'll keep everything locked down. Good luck, Martin. Manny started the engine and we drove off, tension swirling in the crisp morning air. The road felt ominously empty. As we neared the city, Manny took a serpentine route, checking if we were followed. Nothing suspicious cropped up. We parked in a secure underground lot near the courthouse, then took an elevator up. My heart pounded as we entered the marble-floored lobby. This final hearing would be short, but pivotal. The judge would sign off on Emma's permanent custody arrangement, effectively cutting Charlotte out unless she rehabilitated herself. Wayne's presence was uncertain, given that he was a fugitive from the FBI. But we had to be prepared for anything. Inside the courtroom, Brooke greeted us with a relieved expression. No sign of Wayne or Charlotte yet. The judge is waiting. Let's proceed. Manny took a seat behind me, scanning the doorway. We watched as a court clerk shuffled papers. Time ticked slowly. Then Charlotte appeared alone, wearing a plain skirt and blouse, hair unkempt, dark circles under her eyes. She sank into the seat for the respondent. No father at her side, no high-powered lawyer, just a court-appointed counsel. She shot me a haunted look, which I returned with stony resolve. Manny stiffened, but there was no threat from her, just sadness. When the judge entered and called the case, we all stood. The clerk read out, Ellis versus Ellis, final custody confirmation. The judge, the same woman who'd presided over previous motions, surveyed the nearly empty gallery. I see Wayne is not present, correct? Brooke rose. Correct, Your Honor. He's evading arrest on multiple charges. My client stands ready to finalize custody of Emma Ellis. She submitted some final documents attesting to the assault on the cabin. The judge's gaze flicked to Charlotte. Miss Ellis, any representation? Charlotte's public defender, looking frazzled, stood. We have no objections. My client acknowledges her unfitness at this time and does not contest sole custody to Martin Ellis. We only request potential visitation rights after a psychological evaluation. Charlotte stared at the table, tears brimming in her eyes. My chest tightened with conflicting emotions, anger at her betrayal, pity for her destroyed life. But Emma's safety overshadowed everything. After skimming the documents, the judge announced, given the gravity of this case incest, paternity deception, violent attempts by Wayne, I see no reason to deny Mr. Martin Ellis full legal and physical custody of Emma. Miss Ellis, you may petition for limited supervised visitation after a formal psychological assessment. As for Wayne, he's forfeited any claim by failing to appear and due to outstanding criminal warrants. I hereby grant the final custody order to Martin Ellis. Court is adjourned. A swell of relief coursed through me. Manny clapped my shoulder, smiling quietly. Brooke nodded, satisfied. The gavel's echo sealed months of turmoil into one final resolution. Emma was mine to protect, free from Wayne's grasp. Charlotte remained slumped in her seat, wiping tears. Part of me wondered if she'd seek redemption, but I couldn't dwell on it. Emma's future took priority. We packed up, stepping into the hallway. Brooke extended a handshake. Congratulations, Martin. You've done it. I exhaled a shaky laugh. I never dreamed my marriage would end like this. But thank you, Brooke. Couldn't have done it without you. She patted my arm. Take Emma and live your life. Wayne's meltdown is the FBI's concern now. Manny and I walked toward the exit. Charlotte suddenly intercepted me, tears streaking her cheeks. Martin, I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I studied her face. Too late, Charlotte. Emma's safe from him. From you too, unless you change. She gulped. I know. Maybe I can't fix it. But I'm leaving the city. I hope Emma grows up without this nightmare overshadowing her. She's innocent. I nodded tersely, no words of comfort to offer. Manny guided me away. We stepped out into bright sunlight. The press was waiting, cameras flashing, but Manny shielded me. The final custody order was in my hands, a legal victory that cost me unimaginable heartbreak. Yet Emma's future was secure. That was enough. Back at the cabin by late afternoon, I strode inside, heart thudding with anticipation. Irene stood, arms open as I entered, Manny behind me. I lifted the official decree, a tremor in my voice. Emma's custody is fully mine, no more battles. Irene grinned, stepping forward. She held Emma, who reached out to me. That's amazing. I knew you'd do it. Tears shone in her eyes as I hugged them both. Drew clapped lightly, offering a quiet, congrats. Manny set down his bag, releasing a long exhale. We can breathe a bit now. I took Emma in my arms, feeling the tension begin to unwind from my spine. We're free, I whispered. Irene's gaze lingered on me. Truly free. But Manny cleared his throat. Almost. Wayne's still out there, the FBI is on his tail. Let's not drop our guard just yet. He was right. Even with custody secured, Wayne's threat wasn't fully neutralized. If he was cornered, he might lash out in desperation. My chest tightened at the thought, but at least the legal fight was over. No judge or lawyer could force me to relinquish Emma. That war ended in my favor. We spent a subdued evening. Irene cooked a celebratory dinner, roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh rolls. Manny and Drew joined us at the table. Emma perched in a high chair, banging a spoon gleefully. The mood was warm, though overshadowed by the unspoken question. What if Wayne tries one more strike? After dinner, Manny suggested a mini bonfire by the lake to clear our heads. The five of us ambled down to the shore, Emma in my arms, the gentle waves lapping the sand. Manny lit a small fire and we circled around on logs, letting the nighttime hush soothe us. Irene strummed a few chords on an old guitar she found. The tension gradually slipped off our shoulders. At some point, Emma dozed off. I passed her to Irene, who carried her gently back to the cabin. Manny, Drew, and I stayed by the crackling flames, gazing at the star-filled sky. I said, "We're close to the end. Wayne's empire is crumbling. He can't hide forever." Manny nodded. If he shows his face, the feds will swoop in. Drew added, we'll keep watch anyway. Better safe than sorry. I stared into the embers, recalling my vow the day I discovered Charlotte's betrayal. I'd protect Emma no matter the cost. I'd done exactly that. Charlotte and Wayne underestimated me, but now I held the ultimate victory, my daughter's future. The following morning, Manny took me aside. Got a text from the FBI contact. They believe Wayne's pinned down somewhere outside the city, maybe an old private estate he owned. They're moving in soon. My gut clenched. If they corner him, he might shoot his way out. Manny grimly agreed. All we can do is wait. If they arrest him, you're fully free. If he escapes again, we remain guarded. I forced a nod. Another day of anxious waiting. Meanwhile, Manny and Drew kept patrolling. Irene and I tried to maintain normalcy for Emma, feeding her, playing with her on a blanket in the living room, reading silly picture books. But a constant hum of tension dulled the joy. We were so close to living peacefully if Wayne was captured. By late afternoon, Manny returned from checking the perimeter, phone pressed to his ear, his eyes lit with excitement. They got him, he announced once he hung up. The feds raided that estate. Wayne tried to barricade himself, but they smoked him out. He's in custody, Martin. Relief crashed over me like a wave. He's alive, or... Manny nodded. Wounded, but alive. He shot at the agents. They shot back, took him down. He's headed to a hospital, then presumably straight to a federal prison ward. My heart hammered, hands trembling. Thank God! Emma squealed, reaching for me. I scooped her up, pressing my cheek to her soft hair. We're really free now. Irene gave a shaky laugh. No more fear of him barging in with guns? Manny exhaled. He's not stepping out of that cell for a long time. Kidnapping, incest, racketeering, he's done. Drew gave a thumbs up. Mission accomplished. At that moment, the weight on my chest vanished. All the months of living under Wayne's threat, the bullet holes in the porch, the hush of fear around every corner gone. I clasped Manny's shoulder. I can't repay you enough. He grinned. It was a team effort. Nelson, Brooke, Irene, Drew, you led the charge, Martin. We stood there, Emma babbling innocently in my arms. The unstoppable Wayne was unstoppable no more. It felt surreal. All that remained was to shape a future free from his shadow. The next day, a swirl of media coverage erupted. Wayne arrested after shootout, headlines read. Incest tycoon finally in custody, tabloids proclaimed. People debated the scandal, the father-daughter affair, the child at the center. Nelson sent me a snippet from a major newspaper. Martin Ellis emerges victorious, now sole custodian of the child fathered by Wayne. This bizarre case stands as one of the city's darkest chapters. I set my phone down, feeling a swirl of emotions: relief, sadness, anger. Charlotte's name was rarely mentioned, overshadowed by Wayne's monstrous deeds. If she sought therapy, she might eventually get supervised visitation. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. Emma was too young to grasp any of this. Perhaps one day, I'd explain. For now, she giggled at a plush bear Manny gave her. I spent that afternoon reviewing final legal documents with Brooke over the phone. She confirmed Wayne was indicted on multiple charges. Bail denied. He's not going anywhere, she said. Congratulations, Martin. This nightmare is done. I thanked her, meaning every word. When Manny asked if I wanted him to stick around longer, I realized something. Manny, you're free to go if you want. We're safe now. He gave a soft chuckle. I'll hang around a bit. Irene asked if I could help expand the cabins. Also, I've grown fond of this place. I felt a pang of gratitude. Manny was more than a bodyguard now. He was part of my new circle, my new life. 2 weeks later, the cabin bustled with a quiet yet optimistic energy. I decided to remain here indefinitely. My old job in the city was gone, but with my settlement funds from Wayne's lawsuits, I had enough to manage finances from afar. Irene and I spent evenings discussing improvements, turning the lodge into a family-friendly getaway, maybe adding a small stable for horseback riding. Manny pitched in. Drew took weekend shifts, then returned to his own life but promised to visit. Emma thrived in the fresh mountain air, laughing whenever I set her down by the lake to dip her toes. Irene warmed my heart each day with her gentle presence. We hadn't labeled our relationship, but we shared quiet kisses on the porch, starlit walks by the water. The bond grew stronger as the memory of Charlotte's betrayal slowly receded. My scars remained, but they no longer bled. One sunny afternoon, Nelson drove up to see the cabin for himself. "Wow," he said, stepping out of his car, scanning the pines. "I can see why you like it. Peaceful." I offered him a handshake that turned into a hug. "You saved my life, you know, digging up Wayne's crimes, staying in the city while I hid here." Nelson smirked. "I'm a detective at heart, glad to help. So how's fatherhood?" We strolled to the dock, Emma in my arms. She clutched my shirt, curious about the water's sparkle. "Fatherhood is everything," I replied. "She's the reason I fought so hard." Nelson nodded. "And the reason you won, man. I'm proud of you. Not everyone stands up to a tycoon like Wayne." I cast a gaze at the shimmering lake. He wasn't unstoppable after all. Later that evening, Irene prepared a small celebration. A year had passed since Emma's birth. Plus, we were marking Wayne's conviction. Manny grilled steaks near the shore. Drew joined us, and Nelson stuck around. Irene lit a few tiki torches. A gentle breeze swept across the water as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. Emma toddled around, clinging to furniture, squealing when Manny made silly faces. As we settled at a big wooden table, plates heaped with food, I felt a wave of contentment I never expected. This was the life I hadn't dared hope for. Friends, tranquility, a safe place for Emma to grow. I found myself giving a small toast, standing with a glass of iced tea. "To everyone here, thank you for standing by me and Emma. We beat Wayne because we stuck together." Nelson grinned. Manny lifted his glass. Irene smiled with shining eyes. "Here, here," they said. Emma banged a spoon, giggling. My chest flooded with warmth. When darkness fell, we built a bonfire. Sparks danced upward into the star-crammed sky. Manny and Drew told stories of their military days. Nelson recounted comedic mishaps tailing shady CEOs. Irene strummed her guitar softly. I sat close to her, Emma asleep in a portable bassinet, lulled by the crackle of flames and the gentle music. During a lull, Irene caught my eye. "You look happy," she whispered, leaning against me. I slid an arm around her waist. "I am. First time in a long while, I feel at peace." She rested her head on my shoulder, the guitar momentarily forgotten. "I like seeing you like this." I watched embers glow, reflecting on how drastically life had changed. From discovering Charlotte's incest with Wayne, to the frantic custody battle, to gunfights in the dark, all culminating in a quiet lakeside fire with supportive friends, I vowed silently to never let Emma face that darkness again. Months passed in a blur of building new cabins, forging daily routines, and watching Emma grow braver on her wobbly legs. The FBI trial pinned Wayne for multiple felonies. He was sentenced to at least 25 years with no parole for kidnapping conspiracy, incest, and assorted financial crimes. Charlotte vanished from the media, presumably living somewhere in anonymity, possibly grappling with therapy or not. I rarely thought of her except in fleeting pity. I formalized my new living arrangement. Manny accepted a part-time security consultant role, also branching into a local training center. Nelson visited often, sometimes mulling a relocation up here. Brooke even came by once, amazed by the transformation. "This is paradise compared to the city," she commented, sipping coffee on the dock. Every day I woke to Emma's laughter, Irene's warm smile, Manny's friendly banter, the crisp mountain air. The porch still bore faint bullet scars, but I chose not to repair them entirely, a subtle reminder of how far we'd come. One afternoon I found Irene standing in a patch of wildflowers behind the cabin, humming softly. Emma crawled by her side, fascinated by blossoms. I approached quietly, feeling a swell of love. "Hey," I murmured, leaning to brush a stray hair from Irene's face. She turned, eyes bright. "I was just thinking we could plant a garden here. Vegetables, herbs, something for Emma to help with when she's older." My heart fluttered. "That sounds perfect." We gazed at each other, sharing unspoken dreams. For so long, my life revolved around Charlotte's betrayal, Wayne's threat. Now the horizon stretched wide, beckoning with promise. I scooped Emma up, pressing a kiss to her soft cheek. Irene looped an arm around my waist. The three of us strolled back toward the cabin. Life was no longer overshadowed by incest scandal or paternal tyranny. Instead, it glowed with hope, a second chance born from devastation. And in that moment, I realized how fully I'd reclaimed my life strong, decisive, and forging a better future for Emma, for Irene, and for me. Snow blanketed the landscape months later, turning the lake into a shimmering expanse of ice. By then, Emma had grown from a wobbly toddler to a chatty little explorer, chattering in half-formed words. Irene's lodge, now partially expanded with Manny's help, welcomed a handful of winter visitors looking for a quiet retreat. The bullet holes on the porch were finally replaced with new wood, though we kept a small dent in the railing as our private reminder of the past. On a crisp morning, I bundled Emma in a puffy coat and tiny boots so she could toddle out onto the snow-dusted porch. She squealed at the crunch beneath her feet. Manny grinned from the side, carrying a bag of salt to keep the steps ice-free. Irene poured hot cocoa inside, the warm aroma drifting out. I caught a reflection in the window, my own face, calmer lines in my eyes, an easy posture. Gone was the haunted man who once discovered Charlotte's incest. In its place stood a father who had faced unimaginable betrayal but emerged stronger. Life had settled into a gentle rhythm. I did freelance financial consulting for out-of-state clients, rarely needing to venture into the city. Manny's security training center thrived, local folks appreciating his expertise. Nelson had moved closer, renting a small cabin up the road, occasionally taking on investigations for local issues. Irene's lodge gained a reputation for serenity, especially in winter's hush. Emma grew curious about everything, toddling after Manny whenever he hammered nails or cut wood. He joked, "She'll be my apprentice soon." She'd giggle, repeating his name in baby talk. Irene taught her silly songs, tickling her into hysterics. I'd watch them, heart brimming with gratitude. This was the future I fought for, a normal, wholesome life for my child. One afternoon, a surprise visitor arrived. A young woman stepping from her car, scanning the property nervously. Manny intercepted her politely, then waved me over. "Martin, she says she's with the district attorney's office wanting to confirm some details about Wayne's final sentencing." My pulse flickered with old wariness. "Sure." I led her to the porch, Manny close by. The woman introduced herself as Heather Morris, an assistant DA. She had a folder in hand. "I'm compiling victim impact statements for Wayne's official sentencing hearing next month. We wondered if you or Emma have anything to add, though she's obviously too young." I blinked. Emma perched on my hip. "I didn't realize they needed more. He's already convicted. 25 to life, right?" She nodded. "Yes, but the judge might consider statements from all impacted. You're his estranged son-in-law, father to the child he fathered with Charlotte. That's a big piece of the puzzle." A swirl of old anger stirred in me. What would I say? She offered a gentle smile. "Whatever you wish. Maybe how Wayne's actions harmed you, or how you fear for Emma's emotional well-being. The court might incorporate it into the final record." I glanced at Emma, who tugged at my collar, oblivious. Manny hovered behind me, silent support. "Let me think. I guess I do have words for the record. Wayne nearly destroyed my life, but I survived, and I want it documented that he must never come near Emma." Heather nodded, making notes. "That's consistent with the protective orders. If you want to do a brief statement, you can email or call me. The sentencing hearing is in 2 weeks." I murmured thanks, taking her card. Manny walked her back to her car, ensuring everything was legit. I rocked Emma gently, pondering how to encapsulate that trauma in a statement. Maybe it was worth it, a final chance to bury Wayne's power in an official capacity. That evening after dinner, I sat at the dining table with a notepad, scrawling a potential impact statement. The words came haltingly. Wayne's incest with Charlotte shattered my marriage, manipulated her, and fathered my child in deception. He threatened me, attempted kidnapping, terrorized my home. Emma is safe now, but the emotional scars linger. I implore the court to keep him away permanently, ensuring no chance he can harm her mental or physical well-being. I paused. tears stinging my eyes at the memory of discovering Emma's paternity. Yet I reminded myself that we'd triumphed. Manny stepped in, leaning over to see my scribbles. "You sure you want to revisit all that?" I gave a small shrug. Better to leave no doubt about the severity of his crimes. Let the record show he caused irreparable harm. Manny nodded, patting my shoulder. "Then do it. I'll help finalize if you want." We refined the statement, emailing it to Heather. With that, I felt a symbolic weight lift. Wayne's monstrous chapter was locked away, and now even the justice system recognized the extent of his evil. Emma's name would be protected, though. I insisted they keep her identity partially sealed. She'd never need to face the media glare again. As winter deepened, life in the lodge found a sweet routine. By day, Manny and I managed maintenance or improvement tasks. Irene handled reservations, cooked hearty meals for guests, and occasionally teased me about helping with dinner. Emma played in a makeshift nursery corner near the main lodge area, sometimes endearing herself to visitors. In quiet evenings, Irene and I took Emma for short walks on the snowy paths, Manny trailing at a safe distance out of habit. The air smelled of pine and wood smoke. Emma babbled, pointing at squirrels scampering across branches. Irene's gentle laughter warmed me. I realized that, at some point, she and I had crossed from supportive friendship into a deeper bond. We never declared it with fanfare, it just blossomed naturally. A shared love for Emma, for the cabin, for our intertwined futures. Occasionally, I thought of Charlotte. She never called again after our final court run-in. Brooke heard rumors Charlotte was drifting between friends' couches, aimless. A pang of pity flickered. But I didn't dwell. She chose her path. Emma's well-being was all that mattered, and I believed Charlotte had forfeited any maternal role. During one late-night chat by the fireplace, Irene asked softly, "If Charlotte ever shows up wanting to see Emma, how will you handle it?" My chest tensed. The judge said she must undergo therapy first. If she did and the court approved supervised visits, maybe I'd consider it. But I doubt she's up for that. She's too consumed by guilt or fear. Irene nodded, stroking my arm. "You're a good father, Martin. You'll handle it if it comes." I let out a sigh, pressing my forehead to hers. "Thank you." That was enough. Emma giggled from her playpen as if cheering our quiet moment. We both laughed softly, grateful for the peace we finally embraced. A week before Wayne's final sentencing, Heather from the DA's office called me. She thanked me for the statement, saying it would be read into the record. "If you want to attend in person, you can, but I understand if it's too painful." I mulled it over. Manny and Irene both cautioned that physically returning to witness Wayne's final sentencing might dredge up old trauma. But a part of me felt closure might be found by looking him in the eye one last time, seeing him shackled, powerless. I decided yes, I'd attend. Manny volunteered to accompany me, ensuring no surprise. Irene would stay with Emma at the lodge. We arrived at the courthouse on a frosty morning. Manny parked discreetly. We entered through a side entrance. The tension was a faint echo of the old anxiety. Wayne was in custody, heavily guarded, no longer a threat. But my pulse still hammered. Inside the courtroom, I saw a few reporters, some FBI agents, a couple lawyers. Wayne was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffed, looking gaunt, older. He scowled at me across the room. I felt no fear, only pity for a man undone by his hubris and depravity. A hush settled as the judge read the final sentencing terms. The charges were numerous. The mandatory years stacked high. Wayne's attorney tried to plead for leniency, citing poor health, but the judge was unyielding. Then the DA read my impact statement. My words echoed in the silent hall. "He fathered the child I believed was mine, threatened my life, and traumatized my home. I request the court ensure he never again has the opportunity to harm my daughter or me." Wayne shot me a venomous glare. I stared back, unwavering. The judge banged the gavel. Wayne, you are sentenced to a total of no less than 30 years in federal prison, with no parole eligibility for 25. Court is adjourned." My chest eased, a final note of relief. Manny guided me out. Wayne's curses echoed, but they meant nothing. He was caged, likely for the rest of his life. I exited into cold winter sunlight, Manny at my side. "You good?" he asked. I nodded. "I'm good. Let's go home." Returning to the lodge felt like stepping from one world into another. The moment Manny and I walked in, Irene greeted us, Emma toddling at her heels. Emma squealed, beelining for me. I scooped her up, burying my face in her hair. Manny cleared his throat, giving me a grin. How'd it feel? I set Emma down gently, letting her wobble over to Irene's legs. It felt final. Wayne's done. He glared, but he's a ghost now. Irene's gaze softened. I'm relieved. No more lurking fear, right? I exhaled. None. He's locked away. Let's live. In the days that followed, the lodge brimmed with a subtle joy. I found myself humming while cooking breakfast. Manny teased me for going domestic. Emma babbled new words daily. Dada, Erie, man. We took her sledding on a small slope behind the cabin, her squeals echoing in the crisp air. The life we'd built thrived in the absence of Wayne's looming threat. At times, memories of Charlotte tugged at the edges of my mind, but I let them fade. She chose to remain tethered to Wayne's monstrous hold for too long. If she truly changed, maybe someday she'd petition for supervised visitation. I'd cross that bridge if it came. For now, Emma needed stability, and I offered her that wholeheartedly. One mild afternoon, a thaw setting in, Manny and I tackled a remodeling project, building a new porch extension to accommodate bigger gatherings. The wood smelled fresh as we sawed planks. Irene sat on a blanket with Emma, applauding whenever we hammered nails. Emma clapped too, squealing like we were putting on a show. Between the rhythmic hammer hits, Manny glanced my way. You've come a long way since that day you discovered Charlotte's secret, huh? A wave of nostalgia and pain flickered. Yeah, feels like forever ago. I was naive, thought my marriage was perfect. Then everything crumbled. But in a weird way, it led me here, to Emma, to Irene, to a new life. He nodded, pounding another nail. I guess some tragedies paved the path to something better. His gaze flicked to Emma, and she's worth everything. I paused, watching Emma giggle with Irene. Absolutely. The sun filtered through pines, warming my face. Thanks, Manny, for everything. He shrugged. Was just doing my job, but I'm proud to have helped. We resumed building, exchanging comfortable banter. It felt symbolic. Each nail hammered in was an anchor of our fresh start, sealed away from Wayne's destructive legacy. With winter receding, visitors trickled in for early spring fishing. Irene's lodge offered cozy cabins and homemade meals. Manny installed a small boathouse by the lake. Nelson occasionally popped over to swap stories. The place buzzed with new life. One evening after Emma dozed off, Irene and I took a stroll around the lake's edge. The air was crisp, the sky streaked with pastel clouds. We held hands, the soft crunch of gravel underfoot. A mild breeze carried the scent of pine and thawing earth. My heart felt light, unburdened. I glanced at Irene, her dark hair catching the fading sunlight. You know, I began hesitantly, this lodge is becoming a real home for me. Emma and I wouldn't be here if not for your generosity. I guess I want to make it official. Maybe build a life together if you're open to that. My pulse hammered at my own boldness. She smiled, cheeks tinged pink. Martin, I've been hoping you'd say that. I love having you and Emma here. I'd be happy to. Share this life fully if you're asking me. Relief and joy mingled in my chest. I am. I love you, Irene. Emma loves you too. Let's be a family if you want. The words spilled out, raw but genuine. Tears glimmered in her eyes as she nodded. We embraced by the lake, a gentle breeze rippling the water. The memory of Charlotte and Wayne felt distant, overshadowed by a fresh horizon of possibility. Emma was safe, my heart was healing, and Irene was the warmth guiding us forward. Manny teased us mercilessly when Irene and I announced we'd become a family in the fullest sense, planning a small ceremony by the lake. I always knew you two were meant to be, he joked, shaking my hand. Glad you sealed the deal. News spread among our little circle. Nelson offered to handle photography. Brooke promised to visit for the event. Even some local neighbors seemed thrilled, especially after the cabin's dramatic history. The bullet-scarred porch had become a symbol of triumph over adversity, and now it would be the site of a quiet, heartfelt union. On a bright spring day, we gathered outside the lodge. Manny and Drew set up chairs near the water. Emma wore a cute white dress, toddling around with a basket of wildflowers. Irene looked radiant in a simple gown, hair braided with tiny blossoms. I wore a plain shirt and slacks, heart pounding with excitement. With the lake shimmering behind us, we exchanged vows to support each other, to care for Emma, to keep forging a life of love and safety. Manny officiated with playful solemnity. Nelson snapped pictures, laughing whenever Emma waddled into the frame. When we sealed it with a kiss, a gentle cheer rose from our handful of friends. Emma clapped her little hands, squealing in delight. My throat tightened with emotion. This was everything I'd feared I'd never have. A stable, loving family, free from shadows. The quiet waters glinted under the sun, and I whispered a silent farewell to the ghosts of Charlotte and Wayne, letting them fade into memory. After the ceremony, Manny grilled burgers, Irene cut a homemade cake, and we all toasted with sparkling cider. Emma giggled, snatching a piece of frosting. The air felt light, hopeful. As evening fell, the soft hum of crickets enveloped us. I cradled Emma on one arm, Irene on the other, gazing at the star-studded sky. This was the true ending of our ordeal. No more father-in-law looming in corners, no more stifling courts. Just the hush of the lake, the warmth of love, and the promise that we'd face all tomorrows together, strong and unbroken. The first morning after Wayne's dramatic arrest felt strangely anticlimactic. We'd all huddled in the cabin living room the previous night, Manny still on alert, Irene's eyes puffy from a swirl of relief and tension, Emma asleep in her makeshift crib. When dawn came, I stood on the porch, breathing the crisp air and letting the realization sink in. Wayne. My father-in-law, the man who fathered my wife's child, had been taken down for good. I never thought I would see him carted off in cuffs, not when he possessed so much power, owning half of Manhattan, bribing judges and politicians like pawns. But the FBI cornered him at last. The night it happened, I'd gotten a call from Brooke, her voice sparking with triumph. "He's done, Martin. They've got Wayne's men testifying against him in exchange for lighter sentences. Wayne's going away for a long time." The waves of relief and anger kept ebbing and flowing inside me. Anger because no matter how thoroughly the law punished him, it wouldn't undo the fact that he'd stolen so much: my marriage, my security, my sense of normalcy. Relief because Emma could finally live her life without that looming threat. No more kidnappers lurking beyond the pines, no more bullets flying at the cabin. Wayne's meltdown proved unstoppable in his own mind only. That morning, Manny joined me on the porch, coffee mug steaming in his hand. He glanced over at the bullet scars we never bothered to fully sand away. "Guess we can patch those holes for good if you want," he said quietly. "No need to remind ourselves every day." I took a sip of coffee, swirling it in my mouth. We'll see. Maybe they should stay a while, like a memorial to what we overcame. He nodded, and we both watched the sunlight shimmer on the lake. Something about the stillness reminded me that even nightmares can dissolve into new beginnings. Later, Irene appeared in the doorway, Emma perched on her hip. Emma babbled, reaching for me. "Da-da!" My heart soared as I lifted her, pressing my nose into her soft hair. "Morning, sweet girl," she giggled, patting my chin. Irene's gentle smile radiated the same relief I felt. Manny clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Feds say Wayne's hearing is set soon. They'll likely stack charges: racketeering, bribery, incest, kidnapping conspiracy. The works." "Let him rot," I muttered. Then I looked at Emma. "At least the man can never come near her again." Manny nodded in agreement. Irene exhaled, tension draining from her posture. Our fortress of a cabin felt calmer, safer a place to finally breathe. That day, Manny stowed away some of the heavier security gear rifles, extra locks, leftover steel plates from our panic shed. We no longer needed them quite so prominently. I helped him lug a few crates to the storage area behind the house, my muscles burning but my heart light. Each step felt like shedding an old fear. Nelson called around midday, sounding elated. "Martin, the press is eating this up. Wayne's empire is crashing. Courts are freezing his assets. Even the mayor's office is distancing themselves from him. It's the biggest downfall since that scandal a decade ago." I only hummed, not sure what to say. I never wanted a media circus, But if it kept Wayne pinned under the spotlight, I welcomed it. Let the public scorn him for fathering his daughter's child. Let the tabloids brand him the monstrous father lover. Emma and I would stay up here, forging our peace in the hush of the mountains. That night, Manny, Irene, and I ate dinner by lantern light on the porch. Emma dozed in her crib. Manny offered a toast. To us, the day we can stand down from the worst of it. Wayne's locked up and we can live. Irene clinked her glass, eyes shining with hope. I raised mine, too, swallowing past the lump in my throat. For the first time in months, I didn't flinch at the sound of twigs snapping in the woods. My mind was free from the swirling nightmares. Wayne was behind bars, and I had Emma safe in my arms. After Wayne's arrest, Charlotte seemingly vanished. No calls, no letters, no pleas. Part of me wondered if she crawled into some hidden corner, reeling from the collapse of her father's empire. The tabloids had a field day with her as well, incest mom, some ghastly headlines read. I tried not to linger on them. She chose that path by clinging to Wayne's power, ignoring every chance to break free. But about a week later, I received a single envelope in the mail, postmarked from a small town I'd never heard of. Inside was a one-page letter in Charlotte's handwriting. My breath caught, eyes flicking to Irene across the table. She'd been preparing a marinade for dinner. Manny was out checking the property, and Emma was with Nelson for a quick stroll by the lake. I opened it gingerly. The letter read, Martin, I've lost everything. You were right about him all along. He groomed me since I was a teenager, I guess. I'm not asking forgiveness. I know it's too late. But I wanted to say I'm sorry for the pain I caused you, for letting Wayne's grasp overshadow everything. I do love Emma. Please keep her safe, away from me. I'm getting therapy, but it'll be a long road. Charlotte. I let out a heavy sigh, shoulders slumping. Irene stepped over, concern in her eyes. Is it from her? She asked softly. I handed her the letter. She read it, lips pursing. She's at least acknowledging the truth, Irene murmured, setting the paper aside. What do you think you'll do? I shrugged, a swirl of pity and anger stirring. Nothing. She's not petitioning for contact. She says keep Emma away. I'm fine with that. Emma doesn't need confusion right now. Irene nodded, sliding an arm around my waist. The letter felt like a ghost from a dark place I once thought was home. Now, I had a new life to protect, and Charlotte's regrets were too little, too late. I stashed the letter in a drawer, uncertain if I'd ever show it to Emma. Perhaps one day when she's older, and curiosity about her biological origins arises. But that day was far off. For now, the letter changed nothing. Charlotte was gone, Wayne locked up, and Emma's custody was mine alone. Later that evening, Manny found me on the porch, staring at the horizon. Everything okay? He asked, noticing my thoughtful expression. I told him about the letter. He nodded grimly. At least she's not stirring trouble. Then Manny gave me a small nudge, a mischievous grin. Focus on the good, boss. You got Irene, you got Emma, you got your future. Charlotte's out of the picture. I forced a small laugh. You're right. In the distance, the sun dipped below the pines. The letter was just a reminder of a life I'd left behind. I stuffed my hands in my pockets, letting Manny's words sink in. My future beckoned in the shape of a cozy lakeside cabin, a sweet little girl, and a woman who'd become the anchor in my storm. About a month after Wayne's arrest, Manny and Nelson arranged a quiet celebratory cookout by the lake. No big crowds, Manny insisted, just us and a few folks we trust. Over the weeks, Manny had begun dismantling the heavier security measures. We no longer needed perimeter alarm wires or a 24/7 watch. The tension that once buzzed around us dissipated into calm, everyday routines like normal folks living near a serene lake. I spent the morning prepping a grill station near the water, stacking logs for a fire pit. Irene was inside, kneading dough for homemade rolls. Emma toddled around the yard, giggling at the seagulls overhead. Nelson showed up midday, hauling a cooler of drinks. Manny fired up the grill, sending plumes of smoky scent drifting across the property. The day was bright, a gentle breeze carrying the tang of pine. We gathered around a wooden picnic table. Emma perched on my lap, nibbling bits of cornbread. Manny manned the grill, flipping burgers. Nelson cracked open a lemonade, telling stories of how the city press was celebrating Wayne's downfall. They're calling him the false king of Manhattan. Some anchor said it's the biggest scandal in decades. I just listened, half smiling, half still disbelieving. Irene joined us, setting bowls of salad and fresh fruit on the table. The meal turned boisterous, jokes and light-hearted chatter echoing across the lake. Emma babbled, wanting to try Manny's burger, but I stuck to small bites of soft bread for her. As the afternoon stretched, Manny poured a round of iced tea, raising his cup. To Martin, for standing up to a monster, and to Emma, for being the best reason to fight. Applause and laughter followed. I felt warmth flood my chest. I used to think my quiet courage was overshadowed by Wayne's unstoppable might. But here we were, unstoppable in our own right through determination, loyalty, and truth. After the meal, Manny and Nelson pulled me aside. "We're proud of you," Nelson said, clasping my shoulder. "You never caved to Wayne's intimidation. Not many can say that." Manny nodded in agreement. "You never flinched. You got justice for Emma, for yourself. I respect that, boss." Their words stirred an odd emotion in me, gratitude, pride, a faint sadness remembering what it cost, but mostly relief. I patted them both on the back, eyes stinging. Couldn't have done it alone, thank you. Both of you. A short distance away, Irene rocked Emma on a small swing. The sky overhead glowed golden as late afternoon sunshine bathed the scene. I exhaled, letting the weight of everything settle in my bones. This was the life I wanted for Emma, simple, honest, free from the terror Wayne once cast. And if that meant a quiet existence up here with Manny and Nelson as extended family, Irene as the gentle caretaker I'd grown to love, I couldn't ask for more. When twilight fell, we lit the fire pit. Emma dozed in her stroller, Manny played some country tunes from a small speaker, and the rest of us chatted about the future. "You ever going back to the city?" Nelson asked. I shrugged, gazing into the flames. "Maybe occasionally for business, but Emma belongs here, in peace." No one argued. The hush of the lake, the crackle of fire, and the faint star-scattered sky answered better than any words. We were home. As weeks turned into months, Wayne's trial loomed. Federal prosecutors lined up witnesses, corrupt officials he'd bribed, business partners he'd cheated, even some of his own henchmen who turned state's evidence. Meanwhile, the incest charge lurked at the center of it all, disgusting everyone who heard the details. Wayne's lawyers tried to spin it as slander or mental instability on Charlotte's part, but the DNA test, video evidence, and sworn testimonies from the nanny and others cut that defense to shreds. I debated whether to attend the final sentencing. Part of me wanted closure, seeing him face the judge and hearing the pronouncement that he'd never walk free again. But Manny cautioned, "You sure you want to put yourself through that? You've already won custody. He can't touch you." Still, something in me longed to look him in the eye one last time to prove he'd failed, that I wasn't a pawn to be crushed. Ultimately, I decided yes, I'd go. Manny offered to accompany me, as always. Irene agreed to stay back with Emma, not wanting to drag our baby into a crowded courthouse. So we drove into the city on a crisp, clear morning, Manny at the wheel. The courthouse steps felt oddly familiar. My mind flashed back to the day Charlotte brazenly walked in, claiming I was paranoid for accusing her father of monstrous acts. Now, everything was out in the open. Wayne was a pariah, no longer the unstoppable real estate baron who once threatened me with a phone call. Inside, Manny and I took seats near the back, scanning the crowd. The place buzzed with media and onlookers. Wayne's posture was stooped at the defendant's table, hair grayer than I recalled, eyes hollow. He glanced around, spotted me, and scowled. That old hate flared in his gaze. I almost smirked he had no power over me now. The judge entered, hammered the gavel, and the proceedings began. The prosecution laid out the charges: racketeering, bribery, kidnapping conspiracy, incest, and more. Wayne's lawyer tried a final gambit, claiming extenuating circumstances, but the judge was unmoved. One by one, victims gave statements. I kept silent, letting others speak. My earlier affidavit was on record. I had no desire to stand at the microphone detailing the nightmare again. Finally, the judge pronounced sentencing. Wayne, also known as Walter Crane, was to serve at least 25 years, possibly more pending further charges. No parole for a minimum of 2 decades. The judge's voice resonated with finality, calling Wayne's crimes a shocking betrayal of family bonds and public trust. Wayne glared at me as they handcuffed him. I held his gaze, refusing to blink. Then Manny tugged my arm. "Come on, we're done here." We left the courtroom, the noise of reporters echoing in the hall. Outside on the steps, Manny released a low breath. "He's finished, boss. For real this time." I felt my shoulders sag with relief. "Yeah, let's go home." We hopped in Manny's car, weaving through city traffic one last time. I watched the skyscrapers pass, the hustle of the streets, and I realized I no longer belonged here. The city once lured me with career prospects and illusions of marital bliss. Now I had something better, a cabin by the lake, a daughter who needed me, a woman who'd grown essential to my every breath. Manny turned onto the highway. I gazed at the receding skyline, Wayne's face locked behind prison bars in my mind. In a way, I pitied him for letting his twisted lust devour everything, but mostly I felt vindication. Wayne fathered Emma, manipulated Charlotte, tried to murder me and steal my child. Now he'd rot in a cell, powerless. The day Manny and I returned from the sentencing, Irene stood on the porch waiting, Emma in her arms. As soon as I stepped out of the car, Emma squealed, reaching for me. I scooped her up, pressing my face to her hair. Irene's eyes flicked between us, concern and hope mingling. "You okay?" I nodded, letting Emma pat my cheek. "He's gone. 25 years minimum, probably more." Irene's face softened in relief. She leaned in, brushing a gentle kiss on my temple, ignoring Manny's playful cough behind us. "I'm glad," she whispered. "Maybe now you can finally breathe." That evening we sat by the fireplace, Manny dozing in a chair after a long drive, Emma asleep in her crib. Irene and I talked quietly, our voices hushed. I admitted I still felt some weird emptiness, like I'd spent so long fighting Wayne that now I wasn't sure how to relax. Irene squeezed my hand. "Time will help," she assured me. "Focus on Emma, on building a life free from him." I pictured the future. Emma growing up, never meeting the monstrous father who sired her in incest with Charlotte. She'd only know my love, Manny's supportive presence, Irene's nurturing warmth, and perhaps Nelson's occasional comedic visits. That vision steadied me. I breathed out, letting tension drain from my bones. The next weeks drifted by in a calm routine. Manny tackled some remodeling projects, turning Irene's lodge into a more family-friendly retreat. I took Emma on daily walks by the lake, showing her ducks and fish. Irene cooked hearty breakfast for the few guests who came seeking solitude. Nelson popped in now and then, checking if we needed anything. Sometimes Brooke called from the city, giving me updates on the formal closure of my divorce and the settlement from Wayne's estate. She teased that I could buy a mansion if I wanted, but I just laughed. "I have a cabin. That's all I need." Each step forward, I left behind the bitterness and heartbreak Charlotte inflicted. I'd never forget the day I learned Emma wasn't mine biologically, but fatherhood is more than DNA. She was mine in all the ways that mattered. Charlotte's claim on her vanished with the final custody order. Wayne's shadow couldn't reach from behind prison walls. At night, Irene and I would sip tea on the porch swing, Emma asleep inside. We talked about expansions to the property, maybe a small playground for Emma, a row of flower beds. Manny sometimes joined, brainstorming a small security center for the local community. The quiet talk of the future felt surreal, but sweet, like we'd lived through a war and now planned our homestead. The bullet holes in the porch had been patched, though Manny left a faint mark on one beam, a personal reminder of that night we fought off Wayne's men. One evening I told Irene a secret wish that had been stirring in my chest for days. "I think I want to make it official, you and me, as a family," I said quietly. Her eyes shone in the moonlight. She nodded, slipping her hand into mine. "Me too." We never needed grand gestures, we just knew. Irene's presence had been the solace I clung to when Charlotte's betrayal first consumed me. Now it blossomed into a love built on trust and daily warmth. Months passed, weaving a tapestry of ordinary joys. The lodge saw an uptick in bookings. Manny set up a small personal security training workshop out back, and local folks found it comforting to learn self-defense from a calm ex-soldier. Emma grew from a wobbly toddler to a chatty little creature, spouting words like bird and Mama Ree for Irene. She called me Dada with no confusion or pain in her eyes. Sometimes I'd take her to the shed out back that once served as our panic room. Now it stored children's toys, old fishing rods, Manny's leftover gear. I'd watch Emma shuffle around, pointing at random boxes, trying new words. My heart always clenched at the memory of how close we came to losing her. Wayne could have stolen her that night if Manny and I hadn't stood our ground. The shed itself was a testament to how far we'd come. One lazy afternoon, Manny knocked on the door with a grin, telling me I had a visitor out front. I emerged to find Brooke stepping out of her car, a broad smile on her face. "Wanted to see the legendary lodge in person," she said, gazing around at the towering pines, the glimmering lake. Irene came from the side, greeting her warmly. I introduced Emma, who hid shyly behind my leg, peeking at Brooke. Brooke marveled at how peaceful everything looked. "Hard to believe this place saw a firefight some months ago," she said. I shrugged, thankful for the calm. Over dinner, Brooke updated me on the official dissolution of Wayne's empire. Properties seized, corporations dismantled, hush-money networks exposed. "He tried to bribe his way out in prison, but the authorities cracked down hard," she said with a wry smile. "He has no friends left." I couldn't help feeling a grim satisfaction. Wayne once threatened me with the statement, "I own everything and everyone." Now he owned nothing but an orange jumpsuit and a prison cell. The world turned swiftly for a man who believed he was invincible. After dinner, we strolled along the lake. Emma toddled ahead, Manny close behind in case she stumbled near the water. Brooke paused, looking at me. "I'm proud of you, Martin. So many men in your position would have caved or run. You fought for your daughter, and you won." I nodded, swallowing a lump in my throat. "Thanks to you, Manny, Nelson, Irene. I never faced Wayne alone." She patted my shoulder, then turned to watch Emma fling a pebble into the water, squealing at the ripples. That gentle moment, Emma's laughter, the ripple echoing across the surface, crystallized what I'd gained. Everything that truly mattered. By the time winter's chill returned, Manny and I had transformed a portion of the lodge into a year-round retreat. We installed better insulation, upgraded the heating, and even built a small indoor playroom for Emma. I delved into part-time consulting again, working from a rustic desk in one of the spare rooms, which Irene teasingly called my office with $1,000,000 view. Despite the unstoppable fiasco Wayne unleashed on my life, I found the serenity he never could. Every day, Emma's laughter echoed in the halls, erasing the haunting memory of my old marriage. Charlotte's face rarely crept into my mind except in fleeting dreams that left me unsettled. But Irene's comforting presence always drew me back to the now. On a bitterly cold morning, Manny and I trekked around the property, verifying everything was secure. We'd scaled back big measures, but caution lingered. Wayne might be locked up, but sometimes I'd recall how deep his connections once ran. Manny assured me those days were over. Wayne was powerless, and no loyal henchmen remained. They'd either flipped for a plea deal or landed in jail themselves. When we returned, Irene had hot chocolate waiting, mini marshmallows floating. Emma toddled around, trying to reach Manny's knee, chanting, "Up! Up!" Manny chuckled, scooping her up so she could see out the window, pointing at the frosted trees. I sipped my cocoa, gaze drifting over the scene. My daughter safe in Manny's arms, my life tranquil, no invisible threat lurking. Hard to believe it's been a year since Wayne's meltdown, I mused aloud. Irene smiled, sliding her hand into mine. Manny nodded. "Time moves fast. You stuck it out, boss. Now we reap the peace." We finished our cocoa, Manny entertaining Emma with silly faces while Irene gently teased him about being a burly babysitter. The jokes and warmth filled me with a contentment I'd never known in my old city life. And in the hush of that cabin, I understood that revenge wasn't about relishing Wayne's suffering. It was about reclaiming what he tried to take from me. A future for Emma, free from fear. I had that now. Manny started hinting that I and Irene tie the knot more formally, since we'd basically become a family in everything but the legal sense. Even Nelson poked fun whenever he visited, calling Irene my common-law wife. I guess I avoided the subject for a while. Maybe I feared that any official ceremony would dredge up the ghost of my disastrous marriage to Charlotte. But Irene never pressured me. She accepted me wholeheartedly, content with our day-to-day closeness, co-parenting Emma. One evening, though, as I tucked Emma in, I overheard Manny telling Irene in the living room, "Look, I know Martin had it rough, but he loves you. You two are perfect together. Maybe he just needs a nudge." Irene chuckled in response, but I detected a wistful note. That set my heart racing. Irene had been my rock, Manny my guard, Emma my reason to breathe. Why delay the chance to make us official? So a few days later, after Emma's bedtime, I found Irene on the porch gazing at the starlit lake. Slipping an arm around her waist, I cleared my throat. "I've been thinking. We already share everything this lodge, daily life, Emma's care. Would you want to, I don't know, get married? Let Emma see us as a complete family unit?" She blinked, tears glimmering at the corners of her eyes. A smile slowly formed. "Yes, Martin, I want that." My chest loosened in a wave of relief. We embraced, the frigid wind biting our skin, but warmth blossomed inside me. I kissed her softly, feeling the weight of old trauma lift yet another notch. No more fear of father-in-law sabotage. No more illusions shattered. Just Irene and me, forging a future by choice. Within days, Manny and Nelson were overjoyed, planning a quiet ceremony by the lakeshore. Manny joked he'd officiate if we couldn't find a local justice of the peace. Irene teased back that Manny's biggest job was to keep Emma from wandering off mid-vows. Meanwhile, I tried to pen a short vow, words that captured everything she'd done for me in my darkest hours. My mind kept failing to find them, but maybe the simplest vow was to love her every day as she'd loved me. We picked a mild afternoon in early spring, the snow melting, the lake partially thawed. Just a handful of people gathered. Manny, Nelson, Brooke making the drive up, a friendly local clerk to handle legalities. I wore a simple blazer, Irene a flowing white dress that made my breath hitch. Emma wore a tiny floral headband, toddling around, sprinkling petals. Manny stood before us, clearing his throat with mock seriousness. "Dearly beloved, we're here to unite Martin Ellis and Irene Mitchell in a bond that started with bullet holes and barbed wire." He broke off as everyone laughed. Irene covered her grin. "Oh, hush," she teased, and Manny winked. We exchanged vows as the sun glinted on the rippling water. I spoke about trust, about how she saved me when I was drowning in betrayal. Irene's voice trembled, calling Emma and me her family. Manny pronounced us husband and wife in his playful style. Then we sealed it with a kiss as Emma squealed, "Yay!" The handful of onlookers clapped, the breeze rustled the pines, and for a brief moment, the entire world felt perfect. Later, we celebrated with a simple meal Manny grilled up, plus a homemade cake from a local bakery. Emma licked frosting. Manny told stories of near misses from his soldier days. Nelson snapped photos. Brooke raised a glass of sparkling cider, toasting, "Here's to second chances done right." I caught Irene's eye. She squeezed my hand. Indeed, second chances had never felt so sweet. Married life with Irene felt much like the life we'd already shared, quiet, supportive, centered on Emma. But there was a subtle shift in my chest, a lightness. No more unspoken worries about repeating Charlotte's betrayal. No illusions waiting to be shattered. Irene and I were honest from the start, forging trust through fires, bullets, and heartbreak. Every morning I woke to Emma's laughter and Irene's gentle presence, a reaffirmation that we'd chosen one another. Wayne's final sentencing passed with no drama. Manny read a snippet from the news. He's locked in a federal facility, no chance of parole for decades. Charlotte never re-emerged. She was presumably drifting on her own path, overshadowed by shame. My official settlement from Wayne's estate arrived. I had more than enough to secure Emma's future, a college fund, improvements to the lodge if we wanted, or expansions to Manny's security training center. Brooke told me I could move anywhere, buy anything, but I stayed put, content in the rural mountains. After all, the quiet little cove was everything Wayne's flamboyant empire could never be. Genuinely peaceful. As seasons cycled, Manny and Nelson gradually teased me about fatherhood and marriage. "Next up, more kids?" Manny asked. "Or maybe a bigger lodge?" I'd laugh, cradling Emma in my arms. telling them I was happy with this small circle. Irene once whispered she might like a second child eventually, but we had time. For now, Emma demanded all our energy, dancing in the living room whenever Manny turned on music, babbling nonsense that made us all grin. Occasionally, some local guests recognized me from the sensational headlines, "That's the guy whose wife was fathered by her father," and tried prying for gossip. I'd politely decline to discuss it. Manny was always ready to step in if they pressed. But mostly, the community around the lake accepted us as we were, a little family who overcame a monstrous tale. They admired my patience, Manny's steadfastness, and Irene's warmth. Once in a while, I'd sense a hushed respect, as if folks had glimpsed the horrors we beat. Emma's second birthday arrived on a sunny afternoon. We threw a small gathering near the dock. Manny grilled again, Nelson brought silly balloons, and Irene baked a chocolate cake with pink frosting shaped like a teddy bear. Emma tottered around, shrieking with delight at each present wooden toys, a tiny fisherman's hat. I stood back for a moment, soaking in the sight, Manny in a comedic apron, flipping burgers, Irene lighting candles carefully, Emma squealing at the sweet, sticky frosting. This scene was everything Wayne had tried to steal. Instead, it became the final testament that he failed. Years slipped by gently. I'd sometimes recall the early days with a shiver, that jacket embroidered with WW, the texts hinting at incest, the DNA test that shattered me, the final standoff at the cabin. But each memory was softened by time, overshadowed by the life we built in the aftermath. Emma grew older, started preschool in a small local program, bounding home each day with crayon drawings for Manny and me, squealing for Irene's cooking. Manny's security training thrived, even employing a couple of veterans he knew, forging a tiny business that taught the community how to protect themselves. One lazy fall evening after Emma was asleep, I took a stroll with Irene along the wooded path circling our property. Leaves rustled under our feet, the air cool with an approaching dusk. She slipped her hand into mine. "Remember when you first got here? All those secrets you held inside, the fear?" she asked softly. I nodded, inhaling the earthy scent of pine and decaying leaves. I was a wreck, thinking Wayne was unstoppable, that Charlotte would keep Emma from me. But you were here, offering me a calm place to think. I guess I never thanked you enough. She pressed closer, resting her head on my shoulder. Your will to fight for Emma was what pulled you through. I just gave you a cabin to hide in. A cabin that turned into a home, I murmured. My mind drifted to the bullet holes, Manny's watchful nights, the swirl of heartbreak. Now we're unstoppable in our own way, right? She smiled up at me, eyes reflecting the soft moonlight. In our own way, yes, because we choose love over power. Her words rang true. Wayne's lust for control and incestuous obsession destroyed him, while our simple devotion built a life for Emma. In the hush of the forest, it felt like the final page turning. At the lake's edge, we paused to watch the moon ripple on the water. Manny's silhouette stood near the porch, quietly ensuring all was well. Irene slipped her arm around my waist. "This is your vengeance, you know," she said. "Not Wayne's suffering, but your happiness." I drew a steady breath. Yes, we beat him by living a good life. Emma will never know that darkness. My voice shook a little, but it was from gratitude. When we returned to the cabin, Manny had started a small fire in the stone pit out front. Nelson was visiting, sipping hot cocoa, grinning at the sight of us. "A cozy night in paradise, huh?" he teased. Indeed. We all gathered around the fire, Manny, Nelson, Irene, me, Emma, slumbering inside. Laughter and easy conversation spilled forth, the flames crackling, sending sparks into the starlit sky. My mind drifted, reflecting on the long road from the day I found Wayne's jacket to this moment of pure calm. I silently toasted the wind, the lake, the circle of friends around me, and the future that glowed with promise. Wayne was gone, locked away, his empire dissolved into dust. Charlotte's ephemeral presence receded, leaving Emma in my arms. The paternal bond we shared overcame biology. I was her father, forever. Manny's loyal guard, Nelson's detective smarts, Brooke's legal cunning, Irene's unwavering warmth each played a role in our victory. I recognized that it wasn't about a single man's revenge. It was about forging a stable life in the face of monstrous betrayal. That realization warmed me as fiercely as the fire before us. I glanced at Irene, catching her gentle smile. "Here's to us," I said softly, "to freedom, and to never letting darkness steal our joy again." Manny raised his mug. Nelson did the same. Irene leaned her head on my shoulder, murmuring her agreement. The logs crackled, embers floating up into the infinite dark. Laughter bubbled among us, and just behind that laughter the hush of the lake promised that no matter how unstoppable evil may seem, steadfast love and quiet resolve can outlast it. Emma's distant coo from inside the cabin sealed the night with innocence, and so ended the final chapters of a harrowing story transformed into the simple, honest life I'd fought so fiercely to protect.